light.
Are you guys ready?
ヒップトップの神といえば誰？シンガーでビッグなのは誰？エンタメの大黒柱は誰？ワールドカップに出てくるのは誰？グミグミグミグミグミグミグミヒップトップの神といえば誰？シンガーでビッグなのは誰？エンタメの大黒柱は誰？ワールドカップに出てくるのは誰？ヒップトップの神といえば誰？シンガーでビッグなのは誰？エンタメの大黒柱は誰？ワールドカップに出てくるのは誰？グミグミグミグミグミグミグミ
welcome to Skeptical Robot. Thank you so much for being here this evening. I am Luigi Greenberg. Already, so much has happened, and this show hasn't even gotten started yet. First of all, thank you so much to Hamhead gifting 20 Luigi Greenberg memberships. Thank you so much. And it doesn't stop there because he gifted another 20 Luigi Greenberg memberships. Thank you so much. And then Mason in Portland with the 5 Luigi Greenberg memberships. Thank you, Mason in Portland. Thank you, Hamhead. You guys are so awesome. Thank you so very much. Let's see. Hamhead doesn't ask for much. He asks for this. Oh, looks like I even predicted it. It's Long Fart Fridays. Let it rip, Lou. Hamhead with the $2. Thank you so very much. Thank you, guys. Thank you to everyone who is here tonight. I appreciate it. Let me go ahead and bring out the most beloved part of our show, CORNdiff. What's happening, CORNdiff?
Hey, everybody.
How you doing tonight, man?
I'm okay for an ear of corn.
Thank you for being here, buddy. I am overwhelmed with our chat's generosity. I think we might have the best chatters in the world.
The best? Yeah, my chat, terrible people. These guys, I like them.
Man, let's go ahead and bring out our guest this evening. Tonight we have someone who's been on the show before, and also one of the contributors to one of the most beloved parts of our show. Let's bring him out. Please welcome Sperg Snake. Oh, wait.
Hey.
What am I doing? I'm sorry. I am totally off my game. I know how. No, let me give you a proper introduction.
Oh. Thank you. Dude, Gummi's such a great guy. Thank you so much, man. I love that.
It's so great, isn't it?
Yeah. You put up a comment real quick from Matt Himmer before we get too far away. He also did a video. It's like he did a funny one where it's like Big Boss asking Snake. So you got brothers? And then he goes, yeah, 5 of them. So like I'm one. There's Liquid Snake, Solid Snake, and then me, Sperg Snake. Metal Gear guy. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for having me on. Thank you.
Hey,
so much.
glad you could be here. Please, let's give some credit to Gummi Chainsaw. That song is unironically in my workout playlist. He is not alone. It is in mine as well.
Right.
If I worked out.
Yeah.
No, I love that. I love that intro, and you deserve it, man. You've been great on the show. You contributed to naming the part of our show that very well may take off without us. And Frank Dukes. She is so beloved. She's going to have her own show soon.
Super tough.
Yes. And it was right to have you here as we start to conclude our Bullshido series on this particular story about Joshua Fabia. let's see here. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Before we get started, actually, please, if you'd like to plug your channel, you actually had some streams today. And please go ahead and plug away, sir.
At Sperg Snake. You can copy paste my name from in the chat or anywhere you see it. Just type at Sperg Snake. I'll show up. I did a snack review. Did some English snacks that Echo Pineapple had mailed to me. He's trying to give me diabetes, and if you want to watch me catch it slowly over time, there's 2 videos. It's about 3 hours combined, where I go over 6 drinks and about 10 or 12 different snacks. Today was a bitter shandy and some crisps that we call them chips. And there was some good flavors there. Prawn cocktail was on the lower end of the tier, and it was the cheese and onion that was on the top end of the tier. It was really good.
Cheese and onion.
Yeah, see,
I'm
we would get
intrigued.
sour cream and chive, right?
Yeah.
So it's just different enough. That's why England is so weird to me. It's like vanilla ice cream and then French vanilla ice cream. They're so similar, but
Yeah.
just enough subtle difference that you'll appreciate it. Hopefully,
I'm intrigued. And I like this from Gummi Chainsaw. If Anne Frank Dukes had a YouTube channel, she'd have more views than any of us. It's true. It's true. And also Matt Hibner, English diarrhea is fancy diarrhea. Look at that beautiful desk that CORNdiff is behind. He looks so regal. He looks like an executive. He is the CEO of Skeptical Robot Industries.
Don't ask me to stand up. I am nude.
Yes, this is the office where you get sexually harassed.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So,
You pick it up.
what'd you say?
Said I dropped something over there. Could you pick it up?
I've fallen for that way too many times. We are going to be finishing up the second half of the Joshua Fabia story. Yes, easy 1, 2, 3. CORNdiff needs a secretary. Now that would be a funny
agree.
character to have. CORNdiff's secretary, just a random female voice that just pops in and out. Mr. CORNdiff? What? I'm on the air. I told you.
I guess I could use like Alexa or something. I yell at her enough.
I was gonna say
Oh, that's good.
One of those.
That's funny. I was gonna have my wife actually play a role of a female voice on a show that I did, but she actually had something come up and couldn't do it once, and I had to abandon the bit. But I'm kind of glad I didn't. So we're gonna be finishing the second half of Joshua Fabia now. For the audience who might not have caught the story, it's a pretty fascinating story. It's very interesting, and ultimately what it is that a con man who had no business in the world of athletics conned his way into becoming the coach of one of the most beloved and respected mixed martial artists who has ever fought in the UFC. This guy was a new age guru who advertised on his website that he was a healer and some sort of spiritual, bullshit nonsense, whatever. We're gonna get into it, but just you're gonna see some really interesting shit about con men, just typical con men behavior, but Sperg Snake, I thought you would be good for this because much like the Ashita Kim episode that we did, we see so much overlap with the Dabbleverse. The accusations made, the con artist, defense mechanisms, the straight up word for word dialogue of these people are stuff that we have heard so many times before from so many of the locals in the Dabbleverse. This guy takes it to a new level, though, because he also claims to have supernatural powers, and I mean it's insane. This guy is a lunatic, but there are some really, really funny moments in this story. So, without any more delay, let's get started. And I do have a short little recap of what's going on. Ba-ba-ba-bum.
You guys are all just jealous.
Pretty much. Hold on. I don't know why it always starts this way. All right. It's the middle. Okay, we ready?
Oh, yeah.
Let's do this. Hamhead. Fart mic, fart mic, fart mic. There's a good chance that based on my lunch, we might experience the fart mic tonight. Very good chance. All right.
Diego Sanchez is a UFC legend who won the respect of fight fans across multiple legendary fights stretching all the way back from when he became...
You know, I didn't think to ask this. Sperg Snake, are you a mixed martial artist fan?
I do know who Diego Sanchez is.
Okay.
I follow, not as closely anymore, but around this time was where I was at, like between UFC like 180 and 220. I was watching really hard. Not 220, 210 or so, 200. But yeah, I know who Diego's a hit. Oh, God,
awesome.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Diego Sanchez's story starts a little before that in 2005. And he was one of the first contestants on the first season of the Ultimate Fighter series. And that is where the world was introduced to him. And that plays a big part in this story, in that he basically helped save the company. If you know the whole story about that first season, they were on the verge of bankruptcy. And because of the fights, and there were 2 contracts given out in that last episode, one went to Diego Sanchez, and then one was supposed to be going to Forrest Griffin, but they wound up giving it to Forrest Griffin and Stephan Bonnar because their fight was so amazing. And that plays a big part in the story. But ever since then, one of the things that I mentioned to Shuli on the first part of this was that MMA isn't a lot like pro wrestling. There are some similarities, but there's not your typical babyface heel dynamic. But if there was, Diego Sanchez was the babyface of babyfaces. He was universally loved. There was no one criticizing him publicly. Even his social media people just were constantly, just praising him and telling him that they loved him because they loved that he was quirky and they loved his work ethic. There's a lot to it. But anyway, just for a little bit of background, we'll go ahead and get started or continue.
Became the first ever winner of the Ultimate.
What's that?
He was a likable guy.
He was a very, very likable guy. And people just loved that. Not only was he a nice person, but he was amazing to watch. No one criticized him because you literally could see in his performance the guy was willing to die in the ring as part of his job.
Yeah.
And he gave 1,000%, and people loved that. All right.
Ultimate Fighter. However, when Diego announced he'd fired his longtime coaches Jackson Wink in favor of being coached by a complete unknown self-help guru and master manipulator with no real martial arts experience, it would set off a chaotic chain of events that would destroy Diego Sanchez's UFC career and his credibility. Martial arts has always had its fair share of frauds and fakers, such as Steven Seagal or Charlie Zelenoff. But rarely have we ever seen a fraud infiltrate the elite levels of martial arts to the degree that Joshua Fabia was able to do by manipulating and controlling Diego Sanchez. Despite having no real MMA credentials, Fabia was Diego Sanchez's only coach for multiple years across...
All right, so this is another point, just for the recap, to let you know that these guys all train in, they call them camps, they're gyms, associations, and some of them are more respected than others. The camp where Diego Sanchez was called the Jackson Winklejohn Gym. It's run by 2 guys. That name always made CORNdiff laugh in the last episode. Winklejohn is a weird last name, isn't it?
It is. Yes. It makes you think of a cute pee-pee.
It's yeah, it does.
Little Winkle John.
Little Winkle John, yeah, it's it's adorable. A word you don't want to hear in the bedroom.
No, you do not. It was a elite camp with like a lot of respect because it's run by two guys, Greg Jackson and Travis Winklejohn, that are just pedigreed in training champions. These guys are just the best of the best. Their camp has just turned out champion after champion. Guys like John Jones, George St. Pierre, Rashad Evans, like so many people have come out of this camp. And what immediately set off red flags for the, just the sports world was that Diego Sanchez had been with them for, I think, 15 years at this point. And one day fires them and says, even though I'm getting the most already well-established, great gym that has produced champions, I'm giving it all up to just have one guy in my corner. So being a multidiscipline art, mixed martial arts, there's multiple coaches. You get a, wrestling coach, striking coach, grappling coach, and there's one head coach usually. He gives it all up and says one guy is going to train me at everything, including breathing. That's one thing he actually starts telling people. He trains me in my breathing.
Maybe I've been doing it wrong all this time.
You never know. And even the coach, Greg Jackson, keeps an open mind for a little while at least. And he even says it. He's like, look, and this is a guy who doesn't have to. He could literally say, I know what's right. I know what to do because I've done it. He literally says, hey, if this guy is going to get in his mind and make Diego Sanchez better, fine. He's literally keeping an open mind about it. And then it just all comes crashing down when he gets exposed. So, all right, buckle up.
4 UFC fights with a litany of crazy and wild moments, such as training techniques that included chasing fighters with a knife and using Diego hanging upside down as a punching bag. But while his wacky...
I just want to make it clear that those aren't normal scenarios that happen in an MMA fight. No one chases you with a knife, and no one hangs you upside down.
No,
I
think those are tactics and things that he saw in a movie or something. Like, that's what you see in, like, a training montage, is a guy suspended upside down in a meat locker getting punched in the gut, so he's a tough guy. That's not how you really train in real life.
You're so on to something, because we're going to see more and more of what he's doing, and it becomes so abundantly clear. First off, he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Second of all, everything he's seeing is something that he's trying to add some kind of mystical stink on it. And it's totally something he saw in some 80s ninja flick. It is remarkable that this guy gave him any attention, let alone let him run his camp. But we also are going to see that Diego might not be the smartest bulb, but he is a nice person. And he got caught in a really, really bad situation.
Training methods were kind of funny. There was nothing funny about the cultish tactics Joshua Fabia used to control Diego's life for his own benefit, to the detriment of Diego Sanchez.
Like he had cheek implants.
This tells the crazy...
It's weird. He did look odd.
True story of how conman Joshua Fabia destroyed Diego Sanchez's career and made him the laughingstock of mixed martial arts.
Got some new transitions from Gummi. Gummi rocks. Please go show him some love on X at Gummi Chainsaw. He is a mad genius.
Very creative. I love it.
Now, the way we're going to tackle the second half of this story is through the fights that Diego Sanchez fought with Joshua Fabia in his corner. Or not in his corner, I shouldn't say that. That's actually not right. Wrong. With his help. Because his first one, you're going to see, is really kind of not even associated with Joshua Fabia, but Joshua Fabia still took credit for it. So here we go. Here's the first fight. Diego Sanchez versus Mickey Gall.
When Diego fights as an underdog against the younger and taller Mickey Gall, Jackson Wink trainers are still in Diego's corner.
Back up against the fence. Sanchez changes levels.
Got a Darce though. He looks for a Darce. He doesn't have it. Okay, back off the fence. Straight shot.
But it's Joshua Fabia inside Diego's head.
He was in the stands, and I could hear him in the stands.
That's over. That's it. Diego Sanchez.
Now, this is what we actually went over in the first episode and this is right around where we had to call it, is that these camps usually last somewhere between 6 weeks and maybe 2 to 3 months in prepping for a fight. And while we don't know specific dates, Diego Sanchez claims that he had done 95% of his training with the Jackson Winklejohn camp. And 10 days before this fight, while he's at a gym, he meets this guy, Joshua Fabia, starts talking to him, and Joshua Fabia says, "Let me try to teach you some stuff." And for 10 days training with him, while having already done the majority of his training and is even in kind of leveling off from the training, he takes this fight. And just from those 10 days, and let's call it 2 months of an actual camp, from those 10 days, Joshua Fabia starts taking credit for Diego Sanchez's win. If that makes sense.
It makes sense to me. He was in his head 10 days before this fight, hitting him up with the Eastern Asian woo-woo.
Yep, and we're going to...
Therefore you can.
We're going to actually take a look. I actually added a little bit more content to this video package to talk a little bit more about what he was telling Diego while he was serving as his guru. And it's going to be fun.
He showed that greatness, and so I think it surprised
This
a lot of
is
people
Greg
that he was
Jackson.
able to beat somebody as tough as Gall.
Earning nearly $200,000, Diego celebrates in the cage with his Jackson Wink team.
The next day after the Mickey Gall fight, the divorce was finalized.
He was in the middle of a divorce because his wife asked him to stop fighting because she was worried that he was suffering from CTE. He interpreted that as his wife no longer having faith in him, and he divorced her. He also found out that his friend had just swindled him out of $150,000 while serving as his accountant. And he also found out that a kid he had been raising for several years, I don't know how many, I think 8, was not his kid at all. Wow. He is in a bad, bad place. And here comes this guy to help.
I'm just trying to move forward in life.
But at a press conference 3 weeks before his next fight, Diego makes a surprise announcement that he's also divorcing his longtime trainers.
I will admit, I got lucky. No more JW. Jackson Wink, one of the best teams in the world. Oh, I'm going in with one trainer.
This is when my team didn't give me the love that I felt that I deserved at that moment.
The universe brought me Josh Fabia right at the right time. It's a true perfectionist putting in that perfection to make me the perfect fighter.
And I think that these guys get in Diego's ear, and they know. They're relentless with it. They go over and over, and they create problems where, well, it wasn't a problem.
So one thing we also talked about in the first episode was that he was a little susceptible to this sort of stuff. First off, he was a nice guy. He was very trusting. He's a little naive. I think he's a little too positive. I think he was just trying to see the best in people, and that led him down some weird roads.
Well, he was broken. He had everything that seemingly could go wrong, did go wrong, and as far as like sad shit that can happen to you as an adult, and then this fucking little weirdo comes along and he's like, well, I haven't tried this. So
you are 100% correct. But even before that, he demonstrated that he was somewhat of a mark. We talked about how he, on that first season of Ultimate Fighter, he was outside trying to summon the energy of thunderstorms, and he fell for.
Could he do it?
We're still trying to figure it out. Our electromagneticity detector. We ran it over him, and it said that he had harnessed all of the energy in his balls.
That's efficiency.
But also, we talk about how he lived with and trained with this one guy who had convinced him that the sugar substitute Splenda could actually cure cancer. So they were drinking like large amounts of Splenda and putting it in stuff. It's so odd. He was just willing. He was willing to believe crazy things. And that's really what the show is all about. We are just trying to tell people, if someone is out there trying to convince you of something that is a little crazy, a little out there, just think for yourself. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, you bring.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's all right. No, but you make a point. He believes it. He believes it. Diego believes it. And so, and like Corn mentioned, all of the things that could go wrong went wrong. His friend betrayed him. His old lady betrayed him. He was taking care of a kid that wasn't his.
He just wants anything to believe in.
Yes.
Right.
That is it. And then you combine that with getting punched in the head all the time, and it's a bad combination. Guys, I just realized I forgot to do a couple of things that we had set up, and I really messed up.
What'd you mess up?
One is, and I'm so sorry, this is only going to take a minute, is that Gummi prepared a presentation to thank all of the gifted memberships that we got on Friday and Monday. There were too many to just go through them one by one, so we put together a presentation to thank all of our supporters and all of the new members who are going to be getting some gifted memberships. Man, I am so sorry. I know this is bad timing. I should have written this down. This is going to take 1 minute. Let me just play this quick video. Thank you, Gummi Chainsaw. Thank you to Hamhead. And thank you to Chunksta, Hulkamania. I think that covers it, but they helped us out with a lot of gifted memberships on Friday and Monday. And this is to bring a little bit of attention to all of them.
Oh my God. How much do we love our supporters? Thank you so much for your support, sir. Sir. How much do we love our supporters? Thank you so much for your support, sir. Sir. We got that drip, 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 dripping. This song is hitting. It feels so good, it's a feeling. I don't wanna calm down. How much do we love our supporters? Thank you so much for your support, sir. Sir. We got that drip, 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 dripping. This song is hitting. It feels so good, it's a feeling. I don't wanna calm down. How much do we love our supporters? Thank you so much for your support, sir. Sir. See you out there.
Hellraiser 69 was one that I forgot to mention. Yes, Hellraiser 69 also had 5 gifted memberships on Monday. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, folks. I was supposed to start the show with that, and I totally blanked out. I am sorry about that. And also, we've already gotten 1 super chat tonight, and Gummi made this specifically for the first super chat based on our watching Miami Connection last week.
Thank you for the super chat.
Oh my God!
Oh my God.
All right. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry to derail everything, but man, I messed that up bad. I did not plan that accordingly. I apologize. Okay. Now back to the subject matter is, yes, this guy's a dope.
The fact that Joshua Fabia wasn't training any other fighters meant he could devote 100% of his time to coaching Diego and supporting him in any way possible. And Fabia quickly made sure to control as much of Diego's life as possible by appointing himself as Diego's manager, taking control of all of his social media, and putting himself in the spotlight whenever possible.
Okay, so what I want to make that clear is that as serving as his coach, the person that's supposed to be helping him, training him, making him better, takes over his social media accounts. He begins to hijack all of his press junkets and starts bringing attention to himself and his accomplishments. And it becomes so abundantly clear. People see right through his whole act immediately. The only person that doesn't seem to be able to see it is Diego. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Cord. Oh, I was going to say, that's a typical controlling type of person behavior. The first thing they're going to do is alienate you from anything that's familiar.
Yes.
Take away any outside contact that you have. Now you've been put in this bubble, and I can't remember his name. I'm going to keep forgetting. Fabia? That's it. Yeah, I've heard of this guy before. Yeah. I think I misled you a little bit pre-show, saying I didn't know anything about. Now that I know, I've seen the face and know what's going on. Yeah. I'm a little bit familiar with this. It was a terrible situation with good timing.
Yes, that's a good way to say it. A terrible situation with good timing. And then I actually have in this video package a little bit of a comparison of what he did to Diego to Scientology. How they literally have tactics to isolate you, to make you rely on them so that you can't leave, or at least you feel like you can't leave. There's just so much to it that was so cult-like and so weird. And then it starts to get super, super gay. Trust me, it really does. And that is actually an element to the story that's still a little unclear. But here we go.
Get yours now.
On sale.
A little intro.
Okay, so this next fight is Diego Sanchez versus Michael Chiesa. Now, this is the first fight where he has now completely detached himself from his former camp, and he is completely reliant on Fabia. And this is right where the sweet spot of the ridiculous nature of this story starts to come out, and everything that you just said, Sperg Snake, the cult-like behavior just starts to become so abundantly clear to the rest of the world.
Fabia had been involved in the build-up to Diego Sanchez's fight with Mickey Gall, which he had won convincingly. However, Fabia was not part of the corner team and only worked with Diego for 10 days, with almost all of the preparation for the fight being done by the coaches at Jackson Wink. So the first proper fight for Diego Sanchez with Fabia as his coach would come against Michael Chiesa. Diego made the odd decision to only have Fabia in his corner. This decision was puzzling and led to people wondering what was going on.
So I do want to just kind of re-emphasize here that, like, it doesn't even take hindsight to make this all look weird. Immediately when he just says, I'm not going to be part of this very well proven, very well established, very well respected gym and team of people, and I'm going to put all of my faith and hopes in this one person, everyone said, what? Why would you do that? That's stupid. I mean, right immediately off the bat, people were saying, that doesn't sound right. So I feel like that's important to say, that it didn't take hindsight for this to be weird. It was in real time triggering MMA journalists, MMA broadcasters, people saying, what the fuck is this guy doing? That doesn't sound right. It's literally like you saying, I'm going to take up boxing and Mike Tyson is going to be my coach. But you know what? No, I'm going to give up on Mike Tyson because my cousin really knows boxing really well, even though he'd never boxed a day in his life. It was just so incredibly odd. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I
Why
agree.
Diego-
He just did like a 90-degree turn from a tried and true, proven camp to just take on this one guy who nobody knows who he is.
And yes, like proven is the best word. This camp has nothing left to prove when it comes to MMA. Nothing. They've established themselves. And here comes a guy he met in the gym, and he's like, you know, I think I'm gonna go this direction. The guy I met in the gym. And that's really where people were just like, okay, something's wrong. And it wasn't just stupid. People weren't just saying you're stupid. People were saying something is wrong here. Something's very off because it was such a crazy and weird decision to make.
Diego had so much trust in Fabia to the point he felt he didn't need any other coaching. This intrigue led the MMA community to do a bit of research into Fabia, and they found that his bizarre website that in no way made it seem like he was qualified to train a UFC fighter. MMA fans also found bizarre video clips of Fabia on the internet from his self-help style classes he'd been giving prior to coaching Diego that made his MMA expertise seem laughable. The strange situation of UFC legend Diego Sanchez seemingly having a novice coach as the only man in his corner increased the interest in the Chiesa fight, as fans had a morbid curiosity to see if there was any method to the madness or whether it would end in disaster.
So this is summing it up better than I am, in that people immediately got concerned. They were just like, okay, this story doesn't sound right, but if this is true and he's relying on this one guy, let's start looking into this guy and see what his credentials are. And the weirdest part of this is that he didn't hide the fact that he had no experience. He didn't hide the fact that he was a new age guru. He thought that this, or at least he seemingly thought this was all going to help his credibility, and it does the exact opposite of that.
I think that's what the guy was looking for, was something non-traditional. He was like, nothing he's been doing up to this point has worked, so he's got to try something completely different.
You know,
out of character.
I think you're onto something there. I think that's true. And the guy was just a lunatic. I mean, there's no other way around it. This guy was fucking crazy and weird. But what's weird is, I think you're right in that because he didn't hide anything with Diego, he seemed to think, wow, this won one person over. I'll bet this will win the world over if I lean into it. And when he does that, everyone else in the world was like, dude, you are a fucking fraud. Like, no one trusted this guy outside of Diego. And it is so funny how much bad press and bad attention he got by trying to lean into everything that worked with Diego. So you're absolutely right, CORNdiff. That's totally what happened, and it just backfired. And it's going to be funny, I promise. We're going to get there.
And unsurprisingly, it was a disaster, as Diego was demolished for 3 rounds on his way to a unanimous decision loss in a fight where he landed an abysmal 7 significant strikes and was controlled at will on the ground by Chiesa.
I don't think I've ever seen anybody handle Diego on the ground with this much ease.
So not only does he lose the fight, it's the worst performance he's ever given. With his first fight under Fabia. And people notice. You heard Joe Rogan saying, what? What's going on here? I've never seen him perform like this. All right.
Diego hangs on, losing by decision. But after the fight, Diego's new trainer alleges Diego was forced to give Chiesa the victory.
This moment happens where the Nevada State Commission comes in and leans on Diego, and he has to throw a fucking fight.
He put out a thing saying that
So because of his terrible performance, they go into disaster mode. And Fabia gives an interview where he says that the Nevada State Athletic Commission told Diego to throw the fight.
I call bullshit on that. I mean,
I
know that's bullshit.
It's absolute bullshit, yeah.
But Diego wouldn't throw the fight even if he was told to.
No,
you know, like if you know him as a
not.
fighter, he wouldn't have done that. So
I don't see it. You're
that's
right.
not the excuse I would buy, even if it was remotely true.
He
I still
should
wouldn't
have
buy it.
He should have come up with something better than that, because I agree with you. Diego is the type of guy who, like I said earlier, he was respected because it literally looked like he was willing to die, because he put so much into his fights. He had a fight with Clay Guida that was immediately nominated for the Hall of Fame because it was one of the greatest fights ever in 2009. And you're absolutely right. Diego seems like a guy who literally would just be like, how dare you disrespect me with asking me to throw a fight? You know, I might lose for real, but I'm not going to try to lose. But, you know, you never know. But still, whatever came out of this guy's mouth, people just didn't believe it. And they also didn't believe exactly like you're saying, because people felt like they had gotten to know Diego over the years. People thought that was a weak thing to say, because people thought they knew him, and they said, no, he's not the type of guy that would do that, you know? And he also had a direct line to Dana White, the owner of the UFC, being the first season of the Ultimate Fighter series. Dana had a soft spot for these guys, and it was well known that even some of the guys who were past their prime, as long as they were willing to fight, he would let them fight, because he was so grateful to them for saving the business. And that becomes an issue with Diego specifically. And so, yeah, what a weak excuse, weak reason, whatever you want to call it, just a lie to say that he did that. But then there's also someone else who says they've dealt with the Nevada Athletics State Commission, and he is a very credible witness, Mr. Big John McCarthy.
Commission came in the back and told Diego to throw the fight. It's like, look at, I have done thousands upon thousands of fights. There's nobody in the commission telling anybody to do anything. And so you look and you go, you're full of shit, you're a liar.
Fabia's unsubstantiated accusation sparks gossip about his unprecedented relationship with Diego.
Honestly, the only time I've seen a singular person become the sole possessor of someone's fighting soul is when Fabia was with Diego Sanchez.
I had a couple guys who were affiliated with the UFC that had mentioned to me, there's this guy, Joshua Fabia. I don't know if you've seen this new guy in Diego's corner. I was like, yeah, I have. Like, this guy's nuts. He's like very disrespectful. He has this crazy ego.
Fabia didn't want anybody else.
So there's this video of Fabia and Diego in the Middle East doing these meditation exercises. And at one point he's like, he has his hands on Diego's head, and it's supposed to look like he's like transferring some sort of vibe into his brain. It's some weird shit. And we're even going to get into some weirder shit and with video. But they're showing this to just emphasize that when people started to get suspicions about this guy, this is what they were seeing on the internet.
Surround. That's a sign right there.
And with that fight being the last one...
I'm sorry, I talked over that, but that was Mike Goldberg, the former announcer of the UFC, saying that everyone started to think it was weird that Fabia, exactly like you said, Sperg Snake, never wanted anyone else to be in Diego's life except him. He was basically the gatekeeper of anyone else getting involved in Diego's life. And Michael Goldberg says that was the first sign that something was wrong.
On Sanchez's UFC contract, some may have questioned if the UFC might let him walk. But Diego's status as a winner on the original Ultimate Fighter meant he was one of Dana White's absolute favorites, and there was no chance Dana would let him go, with Diego signing a new 5-fight contract with the company. Diego was well respected in the sport, and most would have been hoping that after the disaster that was the Chiesa fight, he would part ways with Joshua Fabia and find a more conventional coaching team for future fights. But this did not happen, and Fabia used the intense criticism they were getting to create a siege-type mentality of Diego and Fabia versus the MMA world, thus increasing Diego's dependency on him and alienating him from anyone who was telling him to leave Fabia. These are common tactics used by cult leaders in places such as Scientology or Jonestown, for example. There is something so incredibly frustrating about...
I'm thinking Scientology actually might be a good topic for this show. And maybe it'll draw some attention when they threaten to sue me.
That definitely will get you a bump.
I actually tried to read. So I'm fascinated with Scientology. I'm fascinated with it. I even own L. Ron Hubbard's jazz album.
His jazz album?
A record. Oh, yes, sir.
Really? I didn't know that.
I'll send you a picture of it. You can actually find the audio of it on YouTube. It's terrible. It's not good, but it is L. Ron Hubbard's jazz album. But I am fascinated with the more incredible and the more extraordinary of a claim when you can get intelligent people to follow it. Like, you know, something so ridiculous, but you convince a smart person of it. And I feel like Scientology is the master of that, of saying the stupidest nonsense, but getting intelligent people to believe it.
I agree. Scientology is definitely top tier with the nonsense part. I talked to you about like the alternate history kind of guys.
Yeah.
Graham Hancock is the leader of that. He's like the leader. If you were to call L. Ron Hubbard the Scientology leader, this guy is the guy pushing like some bullshit history, like you know, ancient aliens come down and did DNA tests on us, and they built the pyramids. It wasn't human beings that built. You know, we had advanced tech and stuff. It's like they believe it. You know. I think at least with the you know,
I'm sorry. I think I owe you an apology, Sperg Snake. When you sent me that stuff, I thought you were promoting it.
Oh, no.
And I was like, no, man, this isn't my thing. Thank you.
No, that's why. No, I was like, I knew what happened. I knew what happened. I didn't present it to you the right way. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I was like, I'll just talk to Luigi via conversation like this. But yeah, no, I have a fascination with people who believe their bullshit so hard. And
Okay.
like you just mentioned,
yes,
this guy is selling it to smart people. He has a whole Netflix series, and people are watching it and believing it. Like we're not that smart. Our brain hasn't changed in the last 5,000 years, provably. You know,
Yes.
like we've been this smart. We've had this average IQ for a very long time. We just happen to figure out other things.
Okay.
Now.
Okay, good. Good to know. So then, all right, well then maybe I will watch those videos then. I was like, hey, Sperg, I thank you, but no, this isn't my thing.
When I got that response, I was like, oh, he thinks I'm one of those now. Great. And I just had to let it go. I had to let it go for a minute until I can explain it.
Okay. I'm on board.
You know, right.
I'm on
no,
board
I
now.
meant it more along the line, like, let's debunk this. And,
Got it.
You know,
Understood. And yes, I'm on board with that. But I tried reading Dianetics, and I'm not even exaggerating at all. I made it maybe 20 pages in and couldn't take it. I was like, this is so absurd. Like, I mean, I could not take it. And what was so interesting was that it was also very telling at the time that I was reading. It was a very politically diverse time that I could literally just read it and see that they were doing the exact same thing in political ads that L. Ron Hubbard was doing, where you promote yourself in real time. Specifically, here's what I'm saying. He would say, while in the literature of the book, Dianetics, talking about how so many people have read Dianetics and told him that it's good. You know, like he's saying, right. Many people have told me that Dianetics has helped heal them. Well, I'm reading the book. How did they tell you that if while you were reading the book? And like, I just could not get through it. It was so dumb. But I will watch every Scientology documentary because those are fantastic. Anyway, I don't know how we got derailed in that. Oh, it was because of this. Oh, but yes, Scientology would be a good one.
Yeah, definitely.
Brainwashing like this, when everyone but the victim can see the lies being told by a fraudster, but the victim refuses to believe. The performance in the cage was a disaster, but it went from bad to worse for Diego and Joshua Fabia, as details would later emerge of the training Diego had done in the run-up to the fight, which included bizarre footage of Joshua Fabia chasing Diego and others around a locked octagon with a knife, with the reasoning being, I guess, If you can dodge a knife, you can dodge a punch. A few months down the line.
So we're going to hear a little bit of an opinion from a professional later, just to make it very, very clear that this is not typical of what happens at a camp. It's just weird. It's odd. But he thought there was some value in it. But honestly, I think it is exactly what you said earlier, Sperg Snake. He, in his mind, thought that there was some sort of Shaw Brothers movie from the 1970s where ninjas were chasing each other with knives, and he was like, I'll bet that really works.
That's what disappoints me with the other 4 guys in the ring right here. Like, none of these guys are like, what is the real benefit of this? I can just run away.
What's interesting is one of these guys was traveling. So it's not uncommon for some guys to, based on elevation, they will travel to other camps and just say, can I train with you at your place for a couple of weeks? So for whatever reason, this guy, actually, I think it's that guy on the far right, asked if he could train as a matter of convenience, and immediately started telling people, dude, whatever Diego's doing there is a bunch of nonsense.
Okay.
And he was like, I played along because I thought maybe I don't get it, but no, this is bullshit. This guy's a charlatan. Like, this guy immediately, I think he's the guy who actually filmed this and then released it. Anyway, but you're right. There's 4 guys, but one of them openly said, I tried to go along with it because maybe I didn't understand, but no, it's bullshit. It's nonsense.
And even more bizarre stuff would come out when it was revealed that before the Chiesa fight, Fabia had warned the UFC and Nevada Athletic Commission that he had taught Diego a choke so dangerous that it could paralyze or even kill Chiesa if Diego decided to use it in the fight. This news got back to Chiesa, who allegedly had found it hilarious, particularly when he was given a demonstration of the move and it resembled a Stone Cold Stunner. Criticism of Fabia was compounded.
If you're not familiar with the Stone Cold Stunner, it is basically taking someone's head as if you're going to do a guillotine choke and then wrapping their head around your shoulder and then just falling down. It is a pro wrestling move, and this guy was teaching it to Diego, saying that it is in fact a move that will cripple or kill someone.
Yeah, if done improper, I'm sure.
Maybe, but
no, I know what you're saying. It looks more dangerous than it really is.
But there's also a lot of steps. There's a lot of steps. No one's going to allow you to control their body from a leaned over position to a standing position to a falling down position. I mean, it doesn't work practically.
I get you.
Unless maybe they're drunk, maybe. But a very well conditioned elite athlete, I doubt it. But you never know. Maybe Fabio was right and we're all wrong.
Pounded by his corner advice between rounds getting ridiculed.
Fabia's training methods and workout routines.
Oh yeah, but ultimately when he demonstrates it, everyone laughs. Yes. They're like, nah.
Tend to look like a goofy mix of CrossFit, yoga, and some of that vague Eastern mysticism mentioned a minute ago. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he makes up half of these routines as he's going along. It also extends to Joshua's healing techniques, such as relaxing deep massages with a whip. There is also this unique approach to chiropractic adjustment.
Soak that in.
I'd rather not.
Thanks, Luigi.
Good
I
look.
gotta go scrub my brain.
Take a good look at what's happening there. This is supposed to be his little spin on chiropractic treatment, which involves missionary position.
I'm okay with that. Oh, and he's like trying to push him up on his hips too. He's using his feet to push up Fabian with his hips. I don't think that's really gonna stretch his back. Real quick, I caught it too. It's Beige Frequency's voice. This is what I watched. This is how I know of this. But it's so long ago, it's well out of my head. So I'm very glad we're going over this in depth because it was fascinating then.
He does a really good job. His was a little long, but I definitely took some clips of him. I should credit where I get all this shit. But I compile them from so many different sources. But yes, he's definitely one. He did about 3 or 4 very long, like hour-long videos on this story. Yes. I tried my best to just kind of summarize it. He goes into some super detail with actual footage. He's great. Beige frequency, fantastic.
Actually, Fabia's self-defense training is about what you'd expect. Krav Maga-inspired bullshido mixed with Ido Portal-style touch butt. There is also a large amount of the typical 2 deadly...
I wish I would have caught this when it was up. Gummi Chainsaw said that's called the Thirsty Altar Boy. Good one, Gummy.
To be used in the octagon techniques that Fabia demonstrates in slow motion, of course.
Oh, there you go. So there you go. That's him demonstrating his stone cold stunner choke that could kill a human being.
Doesn't unintentionally maim the mere mortal that he is.
Now, this is an interesting one, and some people might think that this was useless, but if you listen to the words he's saying, this is where it becomes very clear that he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Is teaching these Dinmok death moves to.
And that energy is going to break it.
What he just said is that energy, and if you see his demonstration, it is falling down on his ass and pushing out with his knees. He said that energy will break a leg. And now watch him demonstrate it.
What? But in full speed, it's... And that energy is going to break your legs.
What?
How?
Yeah, this guy doesn't understand physics.
He doesn't understand physics. He doesn't understand bodies. He doesn't understand. I mean, this guy had no business doing this. What I just don't get is I don't understand how Diego, being a veteran fighter, listened to this. If a guy who had literally been fighting professionally for the past 15 years had a guy just tell him with the power of magic, we're going to break a leg, and Diego literally could have had that moment to say, no, I have practical experience and I could tell you that's not going to happen, but he didn't. That's where I get fascinated. That is where it really takes over my brain when I talk about the Scientology thing, about convincing smart people to abandon their own logic, their own reason. It's a gift, man. It's a weird gift, and it's almost a weird thing that I'm almost in admiration of for some of these con men. I'm like, wow, you really, really did a number on someone's brain. It's crazy.
We throw around the word gaslighting a lot, but this is textbook.
Yeah.
He's really filling Diego with a lot of bullshit. And a few scenes ago, they were both wearing a Mind Over Matter shirt. And this is kind of the point I wanted to make. He's really got him thinking that his mind can really, if you project it, you can make it happen. Yes, there is some degree of that. You think it into existence. Yeah, but you got to work at it. You can't sit on the couch all day projecting your mental energy trying to make money. It ain't going to come. The woman of your dreams ain't showing up at the door.
No, and you know what? There was one thing that we talked about in the first episode that I should have left in here, is that there might have been a physical answer to all of this, in that he was giving Diego mushrooms, and they were tripping frequently. And that literally might have taken control of his mind. And he was convincing him that while he was on these trips, that he was doing all these spiritual things. And then basically it was Diego. There's a part in this, Vice did a short documentary, an episode on this, where they talk about it, and Diego says, because he respected Joshua Fabia to whatever extent as a spiritual guru, when they were doing these trips, the technique that Fabia was using on Diego was to say, you know what? I saw what you were doing in your trip, and I've never seen anyone do that before. You're the first person to ascend all the way to the stars. Like, he was giving him these credits, these accomplishments, feeding all of his ego by saying that he was doing great things. And it was coming from a person that Diego respected. And it was just keeping him on a leash by saying, he had basically figured out what Diego needed, and Diego needed words of encouragement and words of accomplishment. And this guy was just feeding them to him, and then also controlling his brain with mushrooms. It's so many elements to this story are crazy. And one interesting thing that Penn and Teller have said multiple times, and I do believe this to some extent, is that everyone is capable of being fooled. Yes, Diego was gullible. He probably has CTE, but no one is immune to this shit. You know, you just always got to be on guard, because there's always a Joshua Fabia trying to convince you of bullshit at every corner. Anyway, all right, sorry, off my soapbox. Corn, tell us a joke.
Two Jews and a...
Here, let's just do this. There you go. That tends to break up the seriousness.
Really gained the ire of the internet were Fabia's methods of training Diego and other fighters. Part of this stems from the lack of footage of Fabia himself doing any real martial arts training.
Firstly, Joshua offered the attention that Jackson Wink apparently didn't. And secondly, I guarantee that Fabia told Diego exactly what he wanted to hear, and ergo ostensibly lent the support Sanchez felt his ex, who was clearly just looking out for him, didn't. Anyway, Joshua would indeed serve as the lone cornerman for the Chiesa fight, but
we'll give you some time to think of a punchline for that joke, CORNdiff.
It wasn't Diego's lopsided loss that made headlines. It was Fabia's exploits both cage side and behind the scenes. To put it nicely, his corner work wasn't the best. Anyway, what was notable about Fabia's corner work was that it served as inspiration for Joe Rogan to eviscerate him on his podcast.
Now, here's what's interesting is, like I was saying earlier about how this didn't happen in hindsight, this was happening in real time. It is so incredibly impactful in real time. It gets to Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan takes an opportunity to bash this guy while he is still Diego's coach. And Fabia just does not take it well. We're going to see that it leads to this whole situation spiraling out of control.
He had the one guy in his corners telling him, be like Tyson. Go out in there and be like Tyson.
No fucking way did he say that.
That was literal words coming out of Fabia's mouth between rounds. He was not coaching him and telling him, go left. He's dropping his hands, do this. The words he was using were, crack the coconut, be more like Tyson. And they were obviously code words. We get that. We'll give him credit to say those were obviously code words, but they weren't customized help, which is what a cornerman should be doing. They should be telling you, I have been watching him this past round. This is what he's doing wrong. This is what you need to do better. This is where you need to, find your mark. This is where you need to move. Those very specific, poignant, customized pieces, detailed pieces of information that a coach makes a good coach. No, he was giving generic codes. Be like Tyson. And that set people off.
Yes, he did. He was giving him weird advice.
This is voodoo coach. Oh, this is his
This
coach.
is a voodoo coach that would be Diego Sanchez's corner. No one else. This dude has no experience as an MMA coach.
Now look at this.
So
Look at this footage that was on Fabia's website.
What is that slip? That slip,
bro.
And strangely enough, this will turn out to be significant.
He was dodging a heavy bag.
Yeah, like the easiest thing. It's the slowest moving piece of equipment in the gym.
And stealthily, smoothly, like a ghost, moving between the swings of a heavy bag.
Dare I say ninja?
Yes, yeah, exactly.
And what's so crazy is that what gets Fabia in so much trouble is his own mouth. Like, he's always talking. And what's so crazy is that he steps on all these rakes.
Because it will compel Fabia to reveal his true nature, which is that he's a massive conspiracy theorist with a victim mentality. He would habitually refer back to Rogan, intimating that any criticism was a function of Joe's influence. In other words, he alleged that Rogan had galvanized a media smear campaign against him.
Truly.
Ah, shit, I was muted. Fuck. It's your fault. This is where we get into the Dabbleverse crossover world right here.
starts from Joe Rogan's dumbass talking out of turn, slandering somebody.
That's part of the narrative being spilt when Joe Rogan's putting, I don't know who he's got. I don't know this guy. So then saying all this has set the tempo for everybody to repeat it since we're in a copycat culture.
Fabia would then later imply that the UFC were involved too, alleging that they had funded the creation of fake profiles. Bots.
Fake profiles. Where have we heard that before?
Where we heard it before? Where we seen it?
It's amazing, the lolcow crossover. Now, guess what? It gets worse.
Essentially, to slander him online.
So this astroturfing thing that clearly you have to have money to do to put the slander on the amount of content, negative context on all of our posts so nobody sees our posts. That's fucking with the big term analytics and messing with the masses' manipulated minds.
If you think it's...
Go ahead.
I'm not sure what he just said.
Well,
That's what I want to make a point on.
Yes, I love that he suddenly ran out of gas to be articulate and just started a string of buzzwords.
Well, that's why when he said tempo instead of tone, well, they're setting the tempo. You're fucking wrong, dude. All right, now you're gonna try to sound, and he did. He went into that spiel where he's trying to sound smart. The soliloquy they are putting out here in the prophesize and just making up multi-syllable words in the wrong area. It's like, come on, man.
It's what Jesse Jackson does when he's trying to talk himself out of a scandal. Trying to sound smarter than you really are is 100%. Now, everybody knows, yes, I'm an attorney. You guys do not understand how often when you are at a party, at a bar, you tell someone you're an attorney, their tone changes. Sometimes I don't like to tell people I'm an attorney because I see this every day. Ask a lawyer, they will tell you the exact same. Ask a doctor, they'll tell you the same thing. When you tell someone that you are a lawyer or a doctor, so many people suddenly feel the need to start saying words they don't typically use. They might not even know the real definition of, and they want to start sounding smarter. It happens all the time. And what's so funny is that they don't even understand that the whole role of a lawyer is to sound so less smart. You want to use common words. You want to use easily identifiable words. You want to use easily interpreted words. But it's the complete opposite of what people think it is when you meet them. And so many times people do this. This is exactly what it sounds like. Exactly what it sounds like. Someone just starts using a word they think they heard, they think they know the context, they think they know what it means, and they try to crowbar it into a conversation. And yeah, it's amazing.
The other one for me is when people fixate on words like ascertain or something like that. I need to ascertain a new book. It's like,
nefarious.
No, you need to ascertain yeah, right. There's another one.
Yeah.
It's the UFC that's out there.
I don't know at this point, our lawyers will be getting back to us with the end of our cyber investigation.
Where have we heard that before?
I think we got an update on a cyber investigation earlier today from Mr. Aaron Imholt. Either something is going to happen or nothing's going to happen. That was the update.
Spoiler alert.
I mean, I don't care at this point the specifics. I'm not dumb. Clearly, the billion-dollar industry is not dumb. They're going to distance themselves from connected legality and liability.
And then there was his strange
connected. Whatever the fuck he's saying. I mean, he's losing me because I'm just like, I hate you. I fucking hate you. This guy is an asshole. Hey, man, thank you for the $2.
Thank you for the super chat.
Oh my god!
I wish that guy was in more stuff. I really do.
Yes. If you guys did not see our viewing of Miami Connection, it is the greatest movie ever made. Please go check that out. It was last Friday. Oh, by the way, and hopefully Dylan's still in chat, I ran Hard Ticket to Hawaii through the copyright claims, and it's kind of got a little bit of a copyright claim, but I don't think it's going to get blocked. So maybe we'll watch Hard Ticket to Hawaii. All right.
Behavior behind the scenes.
When I watch any video of Fabia training people, I get the feeling that it's as much, if not more, about Fabia stroking his own ego as it is about actually teaching anyone.
That sounds familiar
there are
too.
a shitload of goofy and weird videos from Fabia baptizing Diego.
He's baptizing Diego.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To hitting him with a stick while Diego was hanging upside down.
Now,
that's from Bloodsport, dude.
Yes, it is. And I look, I don't harbor any kind of prejudice. I'm really open to anything. But where I start to get weirded out is when people deny what it is. This is super gay. And I'm okay with it. Just admit it.
That's what the All right, go on. I have no words.
Yeah, I gotta admit I'm a little speechless myself, and had to really try to pick my words there because I'm like I don't know what to say. It just seems so obvious, but maybe I'm wrong. Whatever. Gummi, of course you're invited. You don't have to invite yourself. Of course you're invited. Yeah, it's this is a super gay version of the kissing Spider-Man. It is. Okay. So now I feel like this is a good predecessor to getting gayer.
Fabia's cornering of Diego only fuels the concerns.
Off the line before you attack. V drill. V drill. Think of the shadow. Shadow, I need you to get in.
And that was when I looked and I said, that dude's a fraud. He has no idea about fighting, and he's not helping Diego at all right now.
Sanchez taking some big punishment. I've known Diego for a long period of time. This is just very strange to me. I don't see what's going on right here.
You look at some of the facts, like he never fought mixed martial arts, right? Yet he's speaking with tremendous confidence.
How come you're not putting the emphasis on a 38-year-old man in less than a year changed his style, and one guy did it, not a team of 6 guys?
So this is okay. So now this is the next stage of the unraveling, where he does not like sharing the spotlight. Now, if you know MMA coaches, there were so many shows and journalists bringing attention to this that coaches, I'm going to say 100% of coaches in MMA couldn't give a shit about being in the spotlight. Their job is to make their fighters better. They do their job. If they get asked a question, they'll answer it, but they are not doing press junkets. They're not doing, interviews, unless they're not going out of their way to bring attention to themselves. Their job is to bring attention to their fighter. That is their job. And the absolute best coaches, you couldn't even identify them in a lineup because they don't ever show their face.
Right.
And people start bringing attention that this guy is so incredibly contrary and opposed to that normal routine of the coaches just being in the background, because that's just typically how it was, because these guys were sincere. They were dedicated to their job of making their fighters better and never craving any spotlight, because the spotlight by definition is not for them. It's for their fighter. This guy starts to defy those rules and starts going on every single interview with Diego, accompanying him, taking over the conversation, and then bitching about how he's not getting respect and bitching about how he's not getting enough attention. And people just see through it, and they're like, something is off with this piece of shit.
Yeah, this guy is trying to be a dollar store Don King. The last time I remember somebody being in front of the fighter was that, and it didn't turn out well for Mike Tyson.
You're very, very on the nose. Very on the nose. There's possibly even more to it. I guess I guess we could talk about it because it never really kind of unfurled. But a lot of people started to speculate that this guy might have even been trying his best to get into the UFC to fight. Because it was so weird that he just kept trying to put himself on the forefront for attention. And it just, a lot of it didn't make sense. But people don't really know what his motivation was to do that other than pure narcissism. It just seemed like narcissism wasn't the only thing. It seemed like there had to be some kind of agenda and motive. But again, steps on a rake.
How come nobody's saying anything positive like that? That to me is a massive red flag. This guy seems like a charlatan to me.
When Fabia is challenged by the media, he becomes angry and defensive.
Maybe you should ask me what the f it means, asshole. Maybe you should actually have a conversation with somebody before you slander them on national.
Now imagine your livelihood. I'm talking to both of you guys, Sperg Snake, CORNdiff. Imagine your livelihood depends on a task, fighting. Okay, you are feeding your families with fighting. You are paying your mortgage with fighting. You're paying for your car with fighting. And in order to do that, you have to be better than most. And by being better than most, you go out and you find the best coaches, the people to make you the best that you can possibly be, because your life depends on it. And then the guy you hired starts cursing people out and saying there's conspiracies against you.
Yeah,
Imagine that.
I'd be concerned.
You might be the slightest bit concerned.
I have to have a talk with him. I think you're deviating from our mission statement here of, training me to be a good fighter, and now we're getting into sensationalism. Yeah, no, yeah.
We might need to reevaluate our relationship.
And
yeah,
it's just good practice in life to surround yourself with people that are going to make you better anyway. I don't hang out with people who talk in slang too much or use too much cursing, because that's going to rub off on me. I'd rather have intelligent people around me, even if it's a Corn or a Luigi. I'd rather have
you
guys
set your sights higher,
personalities. Man. Right. Well,
I'm joking.
Believe me, they're a little bit higher than they used to be. So,
I understand.
but you don't want one guy, because that's just one influence. I can't limit myself. That's being narrow-minded, in my opinion. And with all the Eastern Asian woo-woo going on, you would think there would be, but then again, he's got to split the pay up. I know this guy's spending Diego Sanchez's money like it's water. There's no doubt about it.
You think?
Yeah. I just remember that because they, like you said, they flew to the Middle East to do some stuff. This guy ain't paying for it.
All of the con men are all the same. They all are the same. And you're right. You are right. And it's just amazing. But and also aside from the practical aspect of what you just said, saying that you want to surround yourself with better people, I mean, that makes perfect logical, practical sense. And then imagine that you limit yourself in that way by saying, let's just say he thought that, Joshua Fabia was that person that was making him better, that he wanted to surround him by himself. You have now completely decreased your chances of expanding, yourself or being better, because you've limited it to one person. You're saying, right. In what you're saying, I want to surround myself with a variety of different people. Who would want this? Who would want to simply be limited to having one person in your life? It's weird. And I'm not talking about marriage. I'm talking about one person, period. This person is your only friend, your only spouse, your only relative. I mean, it's your only trainer. It's just the practical application of that doesn't make sense to me.
That's what was laying it. It just does not make sense at all.
It doesn't. But if he's sucking your dick,
broadcast like you know what you're doing.
That tends to change your mind.
In the wake of the criticism, he went on an MMA media world tour where he only made himself look more like an insane cult leader who had brainwashed Diego into being his disciple.
It was Diego, usually noticed by Fabia, would regularly shill for the School of Self-Awareness and its sensei. Fabia...
Oh yes, I'm sorry. I have not made that clear. That Fabia ran I don't know what you'd call it. He calls it the School of Self-Awareness. It was just basically his business entity for his nonsense. It It wasn't actually a physical school, a brick and mortar school or anything like that. It was just what he called his nonsense place.
Okay, we need to start a school for skepticism.
That would be great.
Why haven't I?
He's like, I can do that.
Maybe we can get some certificates or something to give out.
If you guys have not watched my episode of the Murder Game podcast with Kaylee, I actually did fill out the tax forms for the Church of Skepticology, and I showed them on the show. So I just need to call it a school, a school of skepticology.
I wouldn't mind being a certified skeptic either.
Oh,
Yeah, right.
I will bless you with the honor, and I will make you a certificate. You could be a high priest in the Church of Skepticology.
Excellent.
Yes,
I like this. Now we're getting into multi-level marketing. All right.
I will allow you to buy holy water in bulk. You can have your pick of hats, Pope hats, cardinal hats.
Put in two, like he did on the Mike Swick podcast,
Good.
where he hijacked
Those are the
Diego's
more expensive
interview
ones.
and went on a near 1 hour long uninterrupted sales pitch.
Yeah, this is crazy. So Diego was being interviewed on a podcast, a video podcast, and at some point, Fabia just pushes in and just says, "Hey," and he says it out loud, "Talk about the School of Self-Awareness." And the host says, "Yeah, sure, no problem. I'll let you plug it." And then Fabia takes over Diego's interview for 47 minutes.
Wow.
Be aware, be ready, be strong. And
So tell them what School of Self-Awareness will teach you with this online course. Go ahead.
The bad video is on their end. It's not us.
Tell them, since you're the guide in the course, Diego.
Yeah, I was going to ask you to get in more detail about the School of Self-Awareness and sell it on to the people that don't know about it.
I'll do it for Diego.
Missing in action. Yes, we will do weddings. I think I've said it here before that when I got married, you're supposed to give all your groomsmen a gift, and I got my groomsmen. I got all of my groomsmen ordained by the Universal Life Church of Modesto, California, and I had their certificates framed, and I made them all ministers. They loved the gift. Some of them still have it hanging on their walls.
Go ahead. Yeah, definitely.
The first thing to understand is, and it believes that one person can change the world when you start with yourself.
And part of the things he starts talking about is fake accounts on social media, how buildings are built and they're built vertically and phallic. And I mean, like, he goes into some crazy bullshit nonsense. And I have to hand it to the host of this show was Mike Swick, who was also a Ultimate Fighter Season 1 contestant member, whatever. This guy played it so well, where he just gave Fabia all the rope and let him hang himself. He just stayed quiet and was like, "Tell me anything you want to tell me," on video. And he just let him go and go and go. And later, actually had a funny interview with Dana White. And he was like, "Hey, did you see what they did on my show?" And Dana White was like, "Yeah, I did. Here's what I have to say." I mean, he played it so perfectly well. It was great.
That's it, man.
Cool.
This carry-on was
You're already in
constant,
Hammerhead.
too. Every
Can't fight
interview would eventually turn into an infomercial.
I would like you, sir, with your beautiful reading voice, to read this testimonial from a federal marshal, U.S. federal marshal, here in New Mexico, in America, in the real Breaking Bad, where real shit happens. Please, sir, let them know that Mr. Diego has not been bamboozled.
CTE, guys. It's pretty long.
Yeah, it's okay.
Anyways.
So my wife actually saw some of these videos, and she literally said, "He looks like an abused housewife." And I was like, I can't argue. He really does. He's basically being told when to speak, when not to speak. At one point, I think it's in this package, he raises his hand to start talking, and Fabia grabs his hand and pushes it down. It is weird. Now, the gay stuff.
then there was the OnlyFans, which was problematic for
Did
a
you hear that?
multitude of reasons.
The OnlyFans.
The OnlyFans.
Yeah. Oh,
now,
no.
again, like I said earlier, your livelihood depends on fighting, and you are trying to surround yourself with people to ensure that you are the best. You are doing the best, and you are the best that you could possibly be. And one of those people that you hired creates an OnlyFans account for you.
And yeah, right. Not even for themselves. It would be like they were capturing OnlyFans pictures of me and then posting it without my knowledge. I don't even think Diego knew about this. Did he?
We would need to have a serious talk. But listen, here's what's funny. I do think Diego did know about this to some extent because, well, here.
Sanchez and Fabia apparently had an equal stake in it, and that was already ridiculous because nobody was subscribing for the latter. Although that was...
Anything look gay about that picture? Nope. Yep. All right, moving on.
Isn't its biggest issue. OnlyFans, thanks to its biggest creators, is known primarily for explicit content. Joshua and Diego, however, were adamant that their site had nothing to do with that. It was simply a place where fans could get a behind-the-scenes look at a UFC fighter. But here's the thing. Fabia couldn't help himself, and he started posting these descriptions to entice potential subscribers.
Buckle up.
Like some of these choice posts that were hidden behind paywalls had titles like, "You know you like that tight butt, winky face. 2 guys, one shirtless, one with tight little shorts. Can you imagine which one is which? Give me a stick and I'll show you what you can do with it." And this may not be...
This is his coach.
Instantly fired.
Sex, but it is sexy and enticing. Winky face.
Quotes like, "You know you like that little tight butt." What kind of training video is that exactly putting out there?
I like how you're in the media and you don't know that market.
That wouldn't be the last we'd see of...
So it was funny when Shuli was on here, I played that clip for him, and he pointed out something, a lolcow behavior that I didn't even notice, which is the whole "it's not my fault" game. And so he's basically defending himself by saying, hey, you just don't get it. You don't understand. And I was like, oh shit, how did that get by me? I was like, you're right. That's totally right.
Fabia's business chops because he'd released this video on OnlyFans, evidently thinking it was a win.
How much do you want for the signed bottle? I mean, obviously this is, you want...
Okay, so now this is another weird thing about the OnlyFans account is that Fabia starts posting negotiation videos. Private, behind closed doors, endorsement deals that he videoed. I don't know how he videoed them, whatever. Yeah. And he starts to post them in what looks like an effort to make these people look bad and make them look good. But again, this dude is fucking delusional. It backfires. He does not look good in these videos.
Not a bigger cut. No, I'm not a bigger cut. I'm not a bigger cut. No, I'm not a bigger cut. You don't have the right to even call the cut on this. And so the same way you wanted to play 90-10, we're at 90 fucking 10. So this is gonna be, that's what I'm saying. I'm getting irritated. Okay, well, I'm irritated. So no, you shut up and listen to me, goddammit. All right, because I'm sick and tired of your bullshit. Oh, this is it. I bullshit 150,000. Okay, this is it. We have a contract. Yeah, we do. And so we're we're all selling a contract that I'll call a lawyer, and you guys involved with somebody that you're not a viable fucking business. You're not making no money. Well, you guys under a false fuck out. Get the fuck out. You guys under get the fuck out.
So
Tear that
he's
shit
literally
up, get him out.
He's literally telling, I don't know who those people were. I'm not sure that it's ever really made clear who they were, but they were obviously trying to be sponsors and they are a company. And he at some point says, you're not a viable company based on an already existing contract that they had with Diego. And that motherfucker had every right to say, get the fuck out. Sue me, you little bitch, which is exactly what should have been said to him. I don't know why those other people caved. I would have completely backed that dude up, which is it 100% needed to be said.
Absolutely. And you were asking earlier, I have been watching UFC for a while, and I remember one of the very first sponsors. I wish I would have got some of their merch. It was Dynamic Fasteners.
Oh,
All
yeah.
white shirt, Big
yeah.
red letters,
I
dynamic
remember.
fasteners. And how many dudes came walking out with that shirt on or put it on after they won?
I'm gonna say they actually sponsored probably 90% of the fighters, because I think they had a UFC deal where so many people had dynamic fastener, like either a shirt or a patch or something like that. Yeah, they were a big sponsor.
So imagine trying to big time them. It's a company nobody's ever heard of. But they had money and they saw an opportunity. These guys had money and saw an opportunity. 90-10 split, whatever. You take what you can get when you're not making any money.
And what it appears to be, and I could be wrong, but it appears to be an already existing deal.
Right. And he's trying to
renegotiate when he doesn't have the footing to do it. He doesn't have leverage to do it. He's just saying, give me more. They're saying, what's wrong with our current deal? And he's saying, well, we don't trust, whatever the fuck he was saying. It's nonsense bullshit. But that's what it looked like. And you just don't do that, man. Like, you will burn, to say you're burning a bridge seems like an understatement. You will bury yourself if you do shit like that.
I'm just doing something that is different. And the point is everybody's little insecurities might be the real problem here.
As Joshua Fabia takes greater control of Diego's career, the MMA world becomes concerned.
What really worried me is Diego never got a chance to talk.
As concern and criticism of Fabia intensifies, so does the brutal training regimen he forces Diego to endure.
All right, I'm gonna stop this to just tell everyone to prepare yourself. This gets weird.
I would be out every morning at 4 a.m. pouring 0-degree water on my naked body, and I'd have to stay out in the cold till the sun came up so I could understand the difference between darkness and light.
I want to reiterate, this is your fighting coach. If my fighting coach says I need you to learn the difference between darkness and light, I'd say that's not what I'm paying you for. Yes. Lesson learned.
That's about it.
And why do I need to be naked?
So when we first started this, he was getting divorced from his wife, and he accused his wife of not having faith in him.
Yes.
I think that Diego has some sort of, he needs this spiritual connection in his fighting.
Oh, you are 100% right. Absolutely.
This guy is feeding him spoonful after spoonful of BS and psilocybin and trying to get him on a higher plane, but it's not winning fights.
And that's what it needs to be doing, because that is what is feeding your fucking family. And I've said this about Vince and John, is that Vince, and it was funny because I said it as a joke once, and I realized how much truth there was into it, because what Vince would do to John, and as a lawyer, I can tell you, any single time that Vince would fill John's head with a legal theory or a legal concept, he was purposely saying it wrong to see what John would do and try to pursue it, and then basically get humiliated. And every single time that John would quote some kind of legal concept or a threat that came from Vince, not one single time has John ever said a legal concept accurately or correctly. He always got it wrong. And I was trying to tell people, you don't see the comedy in how incredibly wrong he is. But the thing was, he had so much confidence when he said it. And I said it about Vince. I said, Vince is feeding him confidence pills. And I said it, I remember just, it came right out of my mouth, and I thought, oh my God, that really is what's happening. I felt like I articulated it so well, is that he's feeding him confidence pills, and now they're coming out of him. And again, lol-cal crossover. Fabia is Vince, Diego is Sean. He's getting confidence pills. Exactly what you're saying. And he was in a point where he was basically out begging for confidence pills. He's like, I need someone to feed me the way that I need to be fed and told the things that I want to hear. And this guy caught on and was like, I know what this guy needs, and here's my meal ticket. So exactly what you're saying.
Having a guy like that can prove things to you and show you things and do things that you've never ever seen anybody do. Now you're basically like a slave to him.
In 2020.
And again, the word choice just throws me off. You're a slave to him. Did you have to use that word? Like,
Yeah. Could have been better.
It could have been better. Yeah. I'm a slave to him. He is my daddy. just you could use better words here.
A video surfaces that sparks mockery of Fabia's methods, especially from Diego's fellow fighters.
There were a few other fighters in the cage, and he was kind of chasing them around with a knife. What? Like they had to kind of move out of the way.
Go, Petritronic. Everything's a knife.
It was the
dodge a
most
wrench, you can dodge a
ridiculous
knife.
thing I've ever seen.
Sanchez was so highly thought of in MMA and had people trying to look out for his best interests, but Fabia manipulated Diego into thinking they just didn't believe in him like his ex-wife, and Diego Sanchez stopped listening to the doubt.
Oh my God, that's exactly what you just said. I didn't even know that was going to be coming up around the corner, but Sperg, that's 100% what you just said. He had a hole that was filled by his wife, and now he has a hole filled by Joshua, and I guess I could have picked those words a little bit better, but but I think we know what I'm saying. So I wanted to make a little bit of a section here. That's my new favorite transition, by the way. Thank you, Gummi Chainsaw. Please show Gummi Chainsaw some love. I wanted to make a little bit of a section here where we are going to experience a little bit of what Joshua Fabia was saying behind the scenes and teaching Diego Sanchez. And I can't even put all of it here because as the story goes along, I don't want to spoil anything. We're going to kind of hear a little bit more as the story goes on, so that we don't spoil too much here. But here is a little bit of what he was hearing from Fabia.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joshua E. Fabia.
And if you were the one that needed to know what I know and what abilities I have, you would give me time and energy, and I would let you feel and know. And that is what this man gave me, hence why I give him back the only true commodities in life, which is time and energy. And this is why you're seeing the reward.
I'm the founder of School of Self, a transformation type of study.
He looks like Pauly Shore playing an annoying hippie.
Yeah, he does. And he does seem like a parody of something, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Like
this can't be real. Like it's a skit of some sort.
Yes, exactly. It doesn't feel like it's sincere or genuine.
Almost Tim and Eric.
Yes, yes.
Yes. That's very accurate. Thank you, CORNdiff.
Wow. Yes. Wow, man, you are hitting that on the head. You are totally correct. And yeah, wow. I got nothing to add to that. That was perfect. Yes, let's hear a little bit more.
What I teach is a method that teaches you how to have an unlimited amount of energy and to understand your body to the level of becoming nobody, K-N-O-W, when you know that you are not your body.
What the fuck?
Okay.
K-N-O-W, body. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I think he thinks he's super clever.
He thinks, I mean, he seems to think that he is laying down some philosophical gold. And I love that the camera is stuck on this guy's face, not even understanding what the hell he's saying.
Wait,
huh?
What did he say? K-N-O body?
He said no. He said O-W. He did.
Okay, all right. He did say the W. Okay.
But he goes. I'm turning your nobody into K-N-O-W body.
Right.
Mind blown. And we always know what can change the mood.
That'll do it.
Giving you the ability to be anybody.
Connect to the universal time zone the world is on.
Connect through a universal time zone. Fuck off.
Listen, nobody wants to do UTC because it just doesn't make that much sense. You know what I'm talking about? It's like the coordinated times, like 1 p.m. everywhere or whatever.
And I loved I got it. Farming.
There you go. That makes it better.
I actually didn't make this video. This is actually someone else who just put together a lot of his most awkward, weird moments, because there's a lot.
Second, and start to reflect on why you can't do most of the shit I can do. Maybe then we'll start to be aware that there might be a difference. Maybe I'm doing the right shit.
You exhale and close the eyes.
Everybody thinks this thing is the big important thing. The most important stuff is in the middle. That's why there's no bones around it. Because
he's talking about your brain, and he's saying there's no bones around your brain.
Holy shit.
Does he not have a skull? Is he jelly-headed? Is it just like water holding his brain in place?
He's a jellyhead.
I felt like talking about him and the results of what he did just wasn't enough. We need to hear his words and dig a little bit deeper to get the full impact of what was going on. And also to emphasize that someone was falling for this. That's the craziest part.
Because you need the energy to move through it. This is the way that all of our ancient ancestors were able to push the boundaries of physical human evolution.
Are we sure if this is Casey Day or not?
And in our Western life of living incorrectly,
I've heard
we are
Hackride likes to do this type of maneuver.
You think Hackride does this shit?
To his couch, yes. What we just were watching, face down on the floor.
Okay, I'm sorry. It took me a second. Okay. I wish he was here in the chat. He'd probably laugh at that too.
All that there is and all that there has been is coming from above and below, and your whole existence is here in the middle.
Now we might understand how I understand a little bit more about it since I've been able to be in my body a little longer than most people.
I was able to be in my body longer than most people.
I'm 948 years old. What, dude, how old is he in this clip?
38.
He's got to be.
We know he's 38
20?
years old.
38, okay.
He's 38 at this point.
Even still, that's like. If that makes any sense. Yeah, that's a locale word, too.
It's just amazing. Watch this great sweep, okay? Imagine someone doing this in UFC.
Here's the attack.
I'm in a different world. This guy's like trying to incorporate Street Fighter. For sure. He was playing Street Fighter 2. He's like, all right, that's a cool move. I'm going to put that in there.
I wish I could understand and explain what this guy's motivation was. It just doesn't make, none of it fits with anything. Maybe Street Fighter. That would make more sense than him thinking this is legit. I don't get it.
Just keep shaking my head.
Yeah.
Endorse yourself.
There's no.
He said, "Oh wait, hold on, man. These things are so." I'm gonna try to scoot this back a tiny bit. It's. I wish there was just a 10-second button. There just never really works. Hold on. The buttons are so small. I want to get that line
than
in
most
there.
people. Does that make sense?
I'm going to go very slow. Don't worry. I go here. I roll. Here's the attack.
I'm in a different world, and I do not endorse killing trees to endorse yourself.
What? Is that real? That was real. That's totally. I mean, this is him. These are all real things he said.
There's no papers to justify real. Do you understand? And there's no like, I need to say I've done this or that. That's the beauty of being a real, genuine human being.
I love the look on that guy's face. He's like, am I being trolled? What's happening?
Yeah, no, the dude's trying to be like, yeah, I don't need to tell you about my accomplishments because I've accomplished them, blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, yeah, but if you accomplish things, there's a paper trail. There's footage of you somewhere doing something of the number of things that you said you're doing. We have zero. We got you dry humping a pelt on a floor, dude. It's not training.
Yeah, I mean, it is so weird.
He's seen me walk.
That's what I was. Oh, that's it right there. That's what I was telling you about.
Oh,
where he's lifting his hand and he literally is taking his hand and saying, "Hold on, I got this, honey. You just don't worry your pretty little head. Sit your sweet ass down."
Around the Holy Land barefoot and not take a slip.
Hold on.
Then most
we got to hear this. We got to hear
That
that
makes
in its
sense.
entirety. It's so.
I go very slow, don't worry. I go here, I roll. Here's the attack.
I'm in a different world, and I do not endorse killing trees to endorse yourself.
There's no papers to justify real. Do you understand? And there's no like, I need to say I've done this or that. That's the beauty of being a real, genuine human being.
He's seen me walk around the Holy Land barefoot.
Why is he just
and not take a
holding
slip.
the hand?
I'm not selling a product. Go look at my website. I'm not selling a product. And go to the website, schoolofselfawarenessworldwide.com. So the goal of School of Self is you need to be selfish. And if you're looking at my whole, the whole of my business is so broad and so big because I deal with the
Some would say gaping.
Hit like, everybody. Hold on. Let's play that again.
Than most people. Does that make sense?
I'm gonna go very slow.
Yeah, we're gonna have to watch this in its entirety. Maybe members only. It's too good. There's just too much gold here.
I'm in a different world, and I do not endorse killing trees to endorse yourself.
There's no papers to justify real. Do you understand? And there's no like, I need to say I've done this or that. That's the beauty of being a real, genuine human being.
He's seen me walk around the Holy Land barefoot and not take a slip.
He's seen me walk around the Holy Land and not slip.
Is that a thing? Like you're supposed to fall?
Yeah, right.
I've never heard that.
I live in the Midwest, so we get like 8 feet of snow 9 months out of the year. I have walked miles in icy snow and not slipped, which I find to be much more difficult than walking around on sand.
I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess that that a cult leader probably sets his own milestones and his own standards, and he says, you know, when you go to the Holy Land, people typically trip, and if I don't, that means I'm God. You know, I've walked through the Holy Land and didn't trip. Wow, I did 3 cartwheels. Beat that.
Right? You see that? I walked the same path as Christ. He stubbed his toe. I didn't.
You know what happened to him afterward? Well, it didn't happen to me.
Check out my hands. They look good, right?
I'm not selling a product. Go look at my website. I'm not selling a product. And go to the website, schoolofselfawarenessworldwide.com. So the goal of School of Self is you need to be selfish. And
oh my God. Wow. Hamhead with a very poignant thing to say. This sounds like Dennis doing a sketch on It's Always Sunny.
Yeah.
God, yes, it does.
And if
We're
you're
getting the
looking
Dennis
at-
system for MMA.
Yes. The Chardy McDennis system of mixed martial arts.
My whole, the whole of my business is so broad and so big because I deal with the human being.
Grip fighting.
Switch. Do it again. Now bring the elbow on top. now chop. See, so the movement will come.
You know, missing in action. I wonder. I know you're joking, but I wonder if that was the point he was trying to make, because I still don't know what his point was. Jesus tripped carrying his cross. Not me, though. I'm wondering if that's what he meant. I like, because nothing else makes sense. I mean, what an odd thing to say.
Like,
I think he just likes playing slap fight with dudes.
That's what it all comes down to. That was the motive. We've all been trying to figure out what his ulterior motive was, and it was playing grab ass with a bunch of dudes.
Yeah.
I mean,
convinced me otherwise.
Yeah. He convinced Diego Sanchez of a lot, and there was an OnlyFans involved. You can start doing a little bit of algebra here. I'm pretty sure he might have got some little extras.
So
enough to embarrass Diego Sanchez for sure.
There was one guy who started a whole YouTube channel, and I'm totally serious. If you check out a channel called Jesse on Fire, Jesse, typical spelling. This guy was obsessed with this story and started a channel just to cover this in real time. Like, he started just doing shows on commentary about the week in Diego Sanchez, Joshua Fabia news. He was a huge Diego Sanchez fan and just hated this whole story as it was unfolding. And I'm trying to not spoil anything before we get to it, but ultimately when this story ends, he finds someone who went to college with Joshua Fabia who just unloads all of these gay stories about him. And he's like, oh, he's totally gay.
Okay.
And he's like, tell me more. And it's pretty funny. He's like, oh, yeah, no, dude, he didn't even hide it. He was super gay. So anyway,
that grab ass thing makes a lot more sense now.
It does.
It really does.
And it's funny because that wasn't, it didn't seem to be Jesse on Fire's motivation, but he was just like, look, this is the only thing I can really come to believe was his motivation, because we just couldn't figure it out. You know, there's so many unanswered questions. He's like, look, if you say he's gay, it just makes the story make a little bit more sense, you know? And I gotta admit, it does.
It does. Yes, it does.
Oh, God.
As if the bad BJJ wasn't bad enough, there's also traditional martial arts.
Sure. Feel where to move your hips, see? There. Move yourself around to real.
Does this look gay?
Mostly.
Find it.
Yeah, it's in the 80th percentile for sure.
Beautiful.
And do you realize they're not actually doing anything? They're just pushing their forearms together, and he's saying, good, good, good. Get sweatier.
And then there's endurance training.
Good.
And now he's just hitting him with a stick.
He's gonna get you. He's gonna get you.
More blood
He's
sport.
gonna get you.
Yes.
Good.
And they call this body hardening.
I don't know if that's a thing.
Yeah.
It's not like
just
it's not like a
tenderizing
swing.
him.
Yeah, exactly.
So his theory, or I should say, what he says to explain this in other interviews, is that basically he's trying to, for lack of a better word, create calluses on Diego Sanchez so that he's basically more comfortable getting hit, and that he's more comfortable with taking a punch, and that it doesn't hurt. He believes that it won't hurt as much
So
if you
he's-
keep hitting the same spot.
So he's trying to give him a torso callus right now.
Right.
Essentially, yes. Or lessen the feeling of certain parts of his body, including his head. It is insane.
I'm starting to see why this guy didn't end up helping him.
Well, guess what? Here's the crazy thing. Diego has yet to lose faith in him. He fights again with him in his corner.
Here, hold this giant boulder.
But with some of these, it's hard to even imagine a use. The Athletic Commission was worried with the
He's
Stone Cold
kicking
Stunner,
a
but this is perhaps a
balloon.
bigger alarm sign.
Why would he record this? If you can trick him into this, fine, go for it.
Again, like so much of this just doesn't make sense, but that seems to be a real MO of cults and of this guy too, is to record everything. Just record it, because one, if it's positive, or if you think it's positive, then it wins you points when you release it. If it's negative, you control it. Or maybe if it makes somebody else look bad, you can release it to make somebody else, to hinder your enemies. Big Scientology thing too. Scientology has to record everything because that's their motive, is what makes us look good, we release. What doesn't make us look good, we keep. What makes our enemies look bad, we release that. It's a very weird, honestly, I think it's birthed out of paranoia. But just whatever. I'm so speechless at so much of this.
It's frustrating.
Like I said, from being the Ultimate Fighter winner to cult victim, Diego's fall from grace is a
Okay, Gummi Chainsaw. There you go. Yes, great comparison. In Muay Thai, excuse me, had a burp. They kick bats to kill the nerves in their legs. Yes. So what I believe was Fabia's intention was to take that same principle to other parts of the body, like the stomach and the head. And
I don't know if you should do that with the head, though.
I'm pretty sure most doctors would say that that wasn't a good idea. Even other MMA fighters, even Conor McGregor was saying, dude, you're taking punches on the head unnecessarily. That's not good. Like, so many people spoke out about this by saying that is stupid. That is terrible. That is terrible advice. And he wouldn't budge. He believed in it. Watch this.
bizarre story that leaves us with a lot of questions, but at least we can finally stop dreading the final chapter. The 15 minutes of fame are about to be up for School of Self-Awareness. And that's cause enough to celebrate.
2 inches up, 2 inches down. You're gonna inhale, exhale down.
So the conqueror ends up looking.
I felt like this was important to get the message across of how stupid and how crazy this is.
Like they conquered something.
Your guts, which is your universe, which is your web to reality and life. That's why it was connected through your mother before you were even in this form of reality. I don't.
What?
I can't make sense of it, but I don't know.
Compete with anyone else. I simply control myself better than anyone else. You're gonna fuck up, and your whole reality is gone. What you understood to be correct will be upside down. I'm working with two magics. There's only two left in the world, Mike. That's the power. That's magic. Right? That's real shit right there. Awareness has the ability to dissolve anything without force. And this masculine, toxic masculine energy is why you see men building shit all around us in a phallic shape.
I love it. There was no connection to that. There's no dots. I don't even know how the fuck he got there. Oh my God.
And that was part of that 47 minutes where he just was asked the simple question, what is school self-awareness?
Dude, I'm practicing two magics.
Magics and awareness, and your body is in your mother before you're ever here, and buildings are in a phallic shape. School of Self-Awareness. This message brought to you. Oh, motherfucker. Fuck. I hate when I do that shit. These buttons are so close together. God damn it.
What are you using? Did you have a
Evie Mux. Yeah, all right, here you go. All right.
Oh, okay. You're doing it from inside.
Okay, so now let's move on to the next fight that Fabia is in his corner. Against Michelle Pajeda. It's Michelle is a manly name in Brazil in Portuguese. And this dude's a fucking killer.
And so the Joshua Fabia-led circus rolled into another fight, this time against Michel Pereira, with Fabia again the only man in Sanchez's corner, despite huge and increasing levels of criticism, which Fabia put down to a Joe Rogan-led conspiracy against him.
And on top of it, the criticism truly starts from Joe Rogan's dumbass talking out of turn, slandering somebody, doing malfeasance.
He's not going to let go of this Joe Rogan conspiracy. And also, remember what I just said about people who try to sound smarter than they really are and use words that they don't know? Keep that in mind for what this little soundbite we're going to hear from him.
Levels of criticism, which Fabia put down to a Joe Rogan-led conspiracy against him.
And on top of it, the criticism truly starts from Joe Rogan's dumbass talking out of turn, slandering somebody, doing malfeasance in the audience eyes and everything because he didn't do his due diligence to find out who I was.
Doing malfeasance in the eyes of
Diego would actually win this fight against Pereira, who is a pretty good fighter, all things considered. However, the manner of this victory was not quite enough to crown.
So I want to make this clear. Diego won this fight. But listen to how he won this fight.
Fabia as a genius coach. Pereira absolutely dominated the fight for 2 rounds before getting himself disqualified in the 3rd round for an illegal knee.
So he got owned for 3 rounds and suffered an illegal knee. You're not allowed to knee your opponent if they are on the ground.
Right.
And so he won the fight by disqualification. Okay.
Oh, shit, he didn't even win it.
Nope. and was apparently dominated through all 3 rounds.
Right.
And was going to lose by decision before that. But look, rules are rules. He won. But people immediately, of course, started criticizing Fabia again. Not for the disqualification. Again, rules are rules. He got that. But his performance leading up to that, people were saying, what is wrong? He is off. This guy was giving 1,000% in his fights, and suddenly now it looks like he's an amateur.
Technically, it was a win. Joshua Fabia again caused controversy with his nonsensical corner advice, as he told Sanchez that Pereira's takedown had won Pereira round 2, even though Sanchez had been completely outclassed in the striking department as well.
So people are wondering why he's giving him good news. He's saying, okay, all right, you won that. You did this, you did that. And basically everyone's saying, no, he's lying. He's lying to him. Yeah.
Despite the lucky nature of the win, Diego was quick to credit Joshua Fabia for the win and for getting him ready to perform at the best of his ability. And Fabia definitely wasn't shy about taking the praise. Fabia seemingly viewed this win as proving all of the haters and criticism wrong, even though Diego's performance had been horrible the entire fight.
So again, I know that we're following along. I just want to emphasize these points. Diego looked terrible. People criticized him. They said he sucked. He won the fight by disqualification, but because he won the fight, Fabia says, you see, I'm doing a good job.
He went on several more rants about Joe Rogan and the conspiracy he believed Rogan was pushing turned everyone against him. When he wasn't going off at Rogan, he was demanding praise and promoting his school of self-awareness with several unhinged and completely nonsensical rants in various interviews as he declared war on the MMA media and made himself the center of attention whenever possible.
He'd also demonstrate why having fewer cornermen is a good idea regardless.
I just want you to relax and stay right there. Watch what happens.
Watch this.
How do you feel? You feel good? You feel like you're going to feel good about performing? None of this feels good. Does this feel good?
No. Please sit down, sir. Now, again, typical cult behavior. He's telling you how to feel. Do you see that? Where that little moment where he says, does this feel good? Before he gets a response, he says, it doesn't feel good. That is super cult like. They're telling you what your response is supposed to be. So again, now Diego still hasn't given up. Diego is still a firm believer in the Fabia nonsense, and he takes on another fight. This is now the third fight with Fabia in his corner fully, and then there was the one where he was not in his corner but still helped him train. So now we're on fight 3, devoted to Fabia, okay?
If Diego hadn't ditched Joshua Fabia after his loss against Chiesa, then it wasn't surprising when he didn't change coaches after winning the Pereira fight, even though he'd looked terrible. And so, the Joshua Fabia circus rolled into yet another fight when Diego Sanchez was pitted against Jake Matthews at UFC 253 on Fight Island. This fight underlined again why Joshua Fabia had no business coaching a UFC fighter. It's one thing for Diego's performances to decline under Fabia, which in itself is bad. But when Diego Sanchez showed up for the Jake Matthews fight, visibly out of shape, it showed how awfully prepared Fabia.
So not only is he not doing a good job, and he is at, again, I want to make this super clear, this is the top of the mountain of elite athletes. And he is slowly devolving and getting out of shape. And he is now on his third fight with Fabia in his corner, and he visibly looks out of shape. He's fatter, he's slower, and you're going to see here, he might have even been trying to do some of the George Dillman no-touch knockout, chi knockouts in this fight. Some people have speculated that it was what he was doing. The jury's out, but you be the judge. I'm going to say, look, if he was willing to believe half of this shit that Fabio was saying, there's no telling what other shit he was willing to believe.
It was making him for these fights. You don't need to be a genius coach to ensure your fighter is in semi-decent shape, but Fabia couldn't even manage that. Diego was again soundly beaten for 2 rounds and needing another miracle to get the win. There was no miracle this time, and Diego was soundly beaten by unanimous decision. His previous performances under Fabia had been bad, but this one was even more depressing because he hadn't even arrived in good condition to give himself a chance. In just 3 fights, Joshua Fabia had taken Diego from absolutely dominating Mickey Gall and underlining his status as a gatekeeper in the UFC to getting battered consistently and being the biggest underdog on the entire card. But no matter how bad things got for Diego Sanchez, he would at least always have Dana White and the UFC in his corner, offering him fights, even if it was looking like he was finished as a fighter.
Now that's where this was really important that I mentioned it earlier, that Dana had this soft spot for all of the cast members from the first season because he was grateful to them for saving the company. So whereas had this been another fighter, Dana would have said, look, man, you're done. Your best days are behind you. You got to move on. As long as these guys were passing physicals and were asking for fights, Dana was like, all right, man, you got it, because it meant a payday for them.
Another thing that Diego had going for him is that no matter how embarrassing his performance was, Joshua Fabia would always go out of his way to embarrass himself even more and take some of the attention off of Diego. Footage recorded and leaked by Fabia of Diego Sanchez's pre-fight meeting with the broadcast team.
For the sake of time, I'm cutting through this part, but before a fight, they interview all the fighters to do a press junket. You could see the full video of this online on several places. Fabia charges in and just starts bitching to these are just the commentators of the fight. This isn't really even press. I shouldn't even say press. They are press to some extent, but these are the people associated with the business. And he just starts bitching that he hasn't gotten a fair shake and he's not getting enough respect for being Diego's coach. Again, I want to bring up that this is not typical behavior of coaches. Coaches are background people. They are like the producers to the blockbuster movie. You might hear their name. You don't know what they look like. Their job is to make their fighter better. That is how they get paid, by giving the spotlight to the fighter. This motherfucker was so incredibly vain and petty and narcissistic. He just comes in and starts bitching, and these people had enough of him. They shoot him down, and it is great.
Showed Fabia hijacking the entire meeting to go on yet another rant about the conspiracy against him in front of a bewildered Paul Felder and Megan Levy, who were both clearly not part of the Joshua Fabia fan club.
That's interesting when all I'm doing is bringing light
I
to
didn't
this.
sign up for your lecture class.
I'm out, man. Nobody wanted to lecture
Press
me.
the green button.
None of them can be skewed to determine what they're going to say on TV because you don't like the narrative that they went down. That's not how the commentary works.
And again, like I was saying about cults, this is Fabia's video. He released this on his website, I think. He thinks this makes him look good, that these people have had enough of him. I just can't make sense of it. But these people are literally telling him, you are barking up the wrong tree. That's not what we do.
Of course, what articles are read, we don't rate articles, right? That's not part of our job.
Ironically, the head of the School of Self-Awareness was amazingly consistent at showing that he had absolutely no self-awareness. There was another hilarious clip to come from the Jake Matthews fight when Fabia decided to confront and attempt to intimidate.
Now, this is fantastic. If you know this guy, Matt Serra, this is one of the few people who literally just does not hold his tongue. He's a nice guy. He's a respected person, but literally when he has a problem with someone, he makes it very, very obvious and very public. They were apparently at a hotel prior to a fight. 6 months prior, Matt Serra had mentioned that Diego got a new coach and he didn't remember his name. And Fabia got really upset about that and tried to confront Matt Serra about it. And it didn't go well.
Okay. Former UFC champion Matt Serra for not saying Joshua Fabia's name on a podcast with Diego that took place over 6 months ago.
You trying to come over here and make some kind of great stand about you bringing me up about no, listen, bro. You want to talk? I'll talk. You're bringing up Michael Pereira. I think the guy's a spud. Vienna? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Don't you're gonna fix my pronunciation now. Oh yeah. Okay.
So
it's much longer, but basically what happens is Matt Serra tells him right to his face, I don't like what you're doing. I don't like your coaching. I don't like what you're doing with Diego. But if Diego is willing to pay you for it, great. Make some money off of him. That doesn't mean that you have any reason to speak to me. That's all he had to say. Yeah.
To recap, in the space of a few days, Fabia coached Diego to his worst ever performance, embarrassed himself with the production team, and then completely embarrassed himself with Matt Serra, with everything being captured on camera. Joshua Fabia was the joke of mixed martial arts.
Yeah. Now, this is the full unraveling.
Ancient Chinese secret.
Right here. But before we get to that, we thought it was right to bring Sperg Snake on for this edition of and Frank Duke's latest battle. Oh, by the way, Sperg, I told you this was going to be the last one, and then I was talking to Gummi about it, and Gummi was like, why does it need to be the last one? And I went, I don't know. I was like, I kind of just associated her with the Bullshido, and Gummi was like, no, she's going to she's going to destroy all grifters. And I was like, yeah, I like that. So
I agree.
So I brought you on here thinking this was going to be her final performance, but I want to let you know she's going to live on. This is not going to be her final performance. So please enjoy the Destroyer of Grifters, this week's edition of Anne Frank Dukes. Versus Diego Sanchez. Just for being stupid.
The lights flash bright as the crowd goes wild. A fearless man with the warrior smile. He's got the grit, he's got the grind. A champion's heart and a focused mind. No distractions, just the fight. Under the neon, he shines so bright. He fights with fire, he fights with pride. Unstoppable.
I'm already pre-laughing because I know Anthony Dukes is coming out next.
Want to emphasize that Diego's song was totally not gay. She's up in her game. She's evolving. Thank you, Gummi.
Tough bitch. Oh yeah, she's dead.
All right, I wonder how this is going to go.
Right out the gate.
I think Diego Sanchez would have been ready for that move with all of his extensive training. Oh shit, Jesus Christ.
Undefeated.
The heel to the back of the head, it was over.
The still undefeated Skeptical Robot Fighting Society champion and Frank Dukes, the destroyer of grifters.
She beat his ass so hard she looks injured.
What'd you say?
She's got like a limp or something. Like she beat his ass so hard she got injured.
Now, we know Diego is not a grifter, but we felt that he deserved some kind of punishment for being so gullible and such a dope. So it just still seemed right. Yes, fuck Joshua Fabia. Diego deserved better, but you gotta be skeptical, and you can't trust everybody. So now, Diego is offered one last fight for his retirement versus a guy named Donald Cerrone. If you know anything about Donald Cerrone, he was a crowd favorite and former training partner of Diego Sanchez. And this is where it all goes terribly.
At this point, considering Diego was losing badly, exhibiting erratic behavior, and didn't seem to be taking MMA at all seriously, judging by his choice of coach and his lack of conditioning, it might have been expected that the UFC cut him. But as stated before...
By the way, we got to add in that Anne Frank Dukes' nickname is the Silent Assassin.
Diego was a made man in the UFC, and they stuck by him and offered him not just a fight, but a pretty decent fight against another legend on his way out of the game in Donald Cerrone.
Please go show Gummi Chainsaw some love. The DVW on Doom's channel and Gummi Chainsaw next, please.
But this was the fight where everything would finally unravel for both Diego Sanchez and Joshua Fabia. Heading into the
That right there is a real interview that he did where he is literally crying and screaming, saying that the UFC has sent contract killers to kill him. I'm not making that up.
On Cerrone fight, Fabia ramped up the next stage of his con, and it would end disastrously for Diego Sanchez. Fabia began to make it clear through interviews with the media that he felt like the UFC had been conspiring against Diego by giving him mismatches and making him take extremely unnecessary amounts of punishment against young and hungry fighters. He also brought up the amount of damage Diego had been taking throughout his 15-year-long UFC career and made it clear that he was concerned for Diego's long-term health. Diego Sanchez having CTE was not a new theory in MMA, with many fans thinking CTE would be the only
think you're muted.
Yep.
You're muted. Shut up. Thank you for telling me that. I want to. I just muted it because I was making a bunch of noise with my cup and forgot. Thank you. All right. So I want to set this up to actually kind of preface the next big thing that's about to happen. They say it, but they don't really emphasize it right there. In that Fabia had been doing interviews where he's dropping a bunch of hints, saying the UFC has been screwing over fighters, specifically Diego, by making him take more damage than he needed to. I don't know what he based that on, but basically saying blah, 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 CTE, CTE, CTE. Okay? We all know what CTE is. It is the head injury. It's the brain disease that you get from constant hits to the head, in which a protein is released that essentially strangles parts of your brain and cuts them off and leads you to not be able to use reason, logic, and think. And it's what a lot of football players get. And it just becomes disastrous in later life. So he's dropping hints, okay? So that is what's going to lead us to this next big bombshell.
Explanation for Diego aligning himself with someone as useless as Joshua Fabia. But for a fighter's coach to be openly pushing the idea that the UFC was allowing fighters with CTE to keep fighting was a huge problem for the company. Fabia took this a step further in the run-up to the Cerrone fight, when he requested the UFC send him a record of every single injury that Diego had ever suffered during his career.
So Fabia steps in and says to the executives at the UFC, I want every medical record that you have on file of every injury that Diego has ever gotten.
He's wearing his OnlyFans shirt.
Yeah, right.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And the UFC immediately gets suspicious and they say, why?
To allow Fabia to assess the long-term effects of Diego's MMA career on his health. This request made the UFC realize that Fabia planned to try and sue the UFC for allowing Diego Sanchez to fight while showing signs of CTE, so that Diego Sanchez would get a payout and Fabia would take half.
Do you hear that? So the UFC says, here's what we think is happening. You've been dropping these hints that we are letting him fight while we knew that he had CTE, and you're going to try to sue us, which it's funny because you can't sue on behalf of someone. But Diego's going to sue us, and then you're going to take half of this. Somehow they got all this information, and I'm going to tell you, later on, Diego confirms all of it. Diego says it's all true. That was his plan, was to do all that. Why he would take half, I don't fucking know, but whatever.
That's his guru.
Yeah, I
right,
guess.
That's ridiculous. I wouldn't even give my ex-wife half. Fuck.
And damn it, does she not deserve it? and like, it's crazy. They figured this out. And again, like I'm saying, everyone saw through this asshole. Everyone except Diego.
And real quick before you start that, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know most of us have run into this situation. Maybe, we've all had a friend or a friend.
We've all fucked a guru.
We've
who
all
blackmailed us.
I don't think it's that bad, but we've all had a friend who was in a relationship or in a place in their life, and we're like, "Dude, you need to get out of here. You need,
Yes.
this isn't so healthy for you." And they're
Yes.
just like, and you're like, "Okay, you got to wash your hands of it at some point." Yeah. This is just them two versus the UFC.
Okay,
and he can't. Everybody's telling him, "Don't do this," and
it's so funny that you say that, because there was a clip that I cut out for the sake of time that I regretted, and you just said exactly what the clip was that a cult mentality is to when you're isolating someone, you feed them this information to make them feel like you two are on the same team versus an enemy. And basically, like, it's us against the world. And that really kind of strengthens your bond and relationship and reliance on each other. And what's so funny is you're absolutely right. I didn't know this when I was younger. I learned it as I grew older, that the minute you tell a girl that, I'm sorry, I'm equating it to moments in my life. The minute you tell a person that someone they love might not be good for them, their bond and their strength only gets more foundation. You know, it gets more rooted into the ground. You have now driven them closer together than they were before, because now they feel that they are, you know, bonded by this fight and this, you know, this battle against the world, you know. And you tell someone, hey, I don't want you shouldn't date that person. That only makes them want to do it more. And so you're right. That's exactly what this is that people are telling him, dude, you got to break yourself. And all that does is reinforce his devotion, his dedication to it, you know?
Well, because he's right. Diego's right. How could you tell him he's not correct when he's one of the top MMA fighters? He won season 1, blah, blah, blah. You know, he's accomplished all that stuff while fighting. He doesn't see the downhill that we're seeing. You know, he's out of shape. He's getting his face punched in. He's winning by decision, or
they're giving him, they're giving him plenty of reasons, like reasonable, logical, very practical reasons why this isn't working out, and he still doesn't believe. He's so drawn into this guy, and we're gonna find out a little bit later that there might have been some issues as to why, but he's not giving up.
Something Diego himself has confirmed.
Mentor was guiding me in what was best for him, and what was best for him was to try to figure out a way to get.
Missing in action? No. Your pimp is always right.
Pimp loves you the most.
That's right.
A settlement with the UFC. And so, you know, he knew, you know, that if there was a major settlement with the UFC, that, you know, I was going to hook him up with half, because it was all his idea. It was all his plan. He was masterminding everything.
This was obviously a massive liability for the UFC and put the Cerrone fight in doubt.
Now, I didn't include the audio, but there is audio of a phone call that Josh, again, released himself thinking it made him look good, when it did the exact opposite, of a executive telling Fabia, why are you asking for medical records? And he says, well, we want to know about we want to know about every injury. We want to know about this. He doesn't say anything about a lawsuit, and the executive couldn't have handled it better. Hey, you're back.
Howdy.
I love that smile. I know, I love it so much. This executive couldn't have handled it better. He says, look, man, I can't fight him. If you're even concerned that he has CTE, I can't put him in a ring in good conscience. I mean, he says the exact right thing. And he says, we've already been through this with another fighter who thought that we were putting him in the ring when he had CTE. I'm not doing it again. And what I definitely don't want to happen is 10 or 15 years from now, I find out that Diego's drooling in a cup and can't even operate his own life. I mean, he says all the right things to Fabia. And he's like, so if that's the case, and he says, I need you to put it in writing that there is no concern about CTE. And if I don't get that from you, I have to fire Diego and cut him from the UFC, and I can't fight him at all. I mean, every right move, every solid, right move to save them from liability, to show concern for Diego, everything. And Fabia somehow took that as a call to fight. Like as a conflict. It's so weird. We still don't know what his motivation was or what his thought process was on that. He releases it. Everyone says, why did you release this? This makes you look terrible. And he stands by it.
Leading to a phone call between UFC legal head Hunter Campbell and Joshua Fabia.
I thought I edited this out. Okay, well, you're here for yourself.
Experiencing health issues and he should not be fighting.
The direct quote that I received was, you stated that the, quote, long-term effects of Diego being an MMA fighter were your basis for requesting it.
Yeah.
So I went through this with Mark Hunt, and here's the reality. If you're concerned or he's concerned that he's having negative effects, then we're not going to fight him. and I'm going to pull the fight right now, and we're going to call it a day, and we'll release him, and he can go do something else with his life, because I'm not putting anybody in that cage that doesn't feel 100% or thinks they're suffering from any medical issues.
As Diego had passed all of his pre-fight medicals and scans, he was cleared to fight, but the UFC wanted Fabia to state in writing that Diego Sanchez was in good health before they would allow the fight to go ahead. Fabia's refusal to cooperate would lead to the fight getting officially cancelled. But even worse, Fabia's actions led Dana White and the UFC to release Diego Sanchez from his UFC contract, feeling that it wasn't worth the hassle of dealing with the Diego Sanchez circus anymore, even if Diego Sanchez was one of Dana's favourite fighters. Sanchez effectively once had a contract to fight in the UFC for as long as he wanted, but Fabia had managed to help him blow it, and Diego Sanchez was out.
So not only is he contributed to Diego losing fights, he has now ruined his career and got him fired from the UFC because of scheming, lying, and possibly trying to sue the UFC. They're done. And they're like, we're not dealing with this anymore. He has essentially ruined Diego Sanchez's life.
People get tired of that shit.
Yep.
And
I agree.
It's crazy.
Dana White and the UFC gave this way too much entertainment. They should have cut that off after the second fight.
Yes.
Right after that first fight. When they saw him come out and get his ass handed to him, they're like, because Missing in Action mentioned it a couple times. He was getting punched in the head a lot.
And that's
after leaving Winklejohn's gym.
Yeah. Why did I just blank on it?
Uncle John Winkler.
Jackson Winklejohn.
Yep, it's gonna just get longer every time. It's gonna be John
Winkle
Jacob
Dinkle?
Jingleheimer.
John Von Winkle.
Okay, King of all diffs. This is interesting, and it ends with it ends pretty funny. Trauma bonding is real. The girl I was with when my dad died, I had a bond with that I have never been able to break, even though she is a stupid whore. That sounds very sincere and honest. I'm sorry that she's a stupid whore, King of all diffs, but yes, trauma bonding, exactly, and that's what people in cults go through. This guy was just too trusting, and again, I feel.
I know, it got me too.
After he left Henry Winkler's camp. Hey, you want to hear a funny story about Henry Winkler that a friend of mine who works in Hollywood has?
Yes.
A friend of mine, I say he works in Hollywood. He does editing. He does editing on TV shows, and he was in a room, in a studio that just had 3 computers. It was this tiny little room that was used for editing, and it was 3 guys on 3 computers, all with headphones on, doing editing at their own little station. And the door opened, and out of nowhere, Henry Winkler's head just pops in and says, "Oh, I'm sorry. I thought there was a meeting in this room." And the 3 guys, my friend being one of them, were so speechless. They didn't know what to say or do. And one of them went, "Hey," and did his thumbs. And then the second guy goes, "Hey." And the third guy goes, "Hey."
Perfect.
And my friend says that Henry Winkler died laughing. And he was like, "Thanks, guys," and just shut the door behind him and left.
He's on social media a lot. Fonz he's a charming guy. I really like Henry Winkler. He's a great guy to his fans, I should say.
DJ Electra 3 pewters. If you're not watching Unboxing Bigfoot It Is, you need to be watching. That is great. And 3 pewters. He refers to computers as pewters.
Pewters.
All right.
Out in the MMA wilderness for the first time in over 15 years. After the Sanchez-Cerrone fight was officially cancelled, Diego, or perhaps Fabia I should say, took to Instagram to express he was happy to finally be free of the UFC, while tagging a bunch of alternative MMA promotions, keen to get back to fighting. But
so now he's just ruined his life and just says, and believe me, this all came out in real time as to how he ruined his life. This whole story was out in the news when it happened. When they fired him, they said, "This is why we're firing him." would try to collect medical records. We think he was trying to sue us. It all was available in public. And now, after ruining his life, he takes to social media and says, free agent, who wants to hire me?
Yeah, see, and that's the thing. We all just watched that unfold, and so did all of them. They're like, nope, we're not even gonna. They won't want to touch him with a 10-foot pole.
And okay, you're right. Listen, the number 2 MMA organization of the UFC is Bellator.
Bellator. Yep.
Yeah, watch this.
Overestimated the demand for Diego, as almost every promotion wanted nothing to do with the clown show that was Joshua Fabia. Bellator quickly ruled themselves out, and there was scant interest elsewhere.
Bellator makes a press release and says, we don't want him. Yeah. And I'm telling you, this guy was beloved, and he just trusted the wrong person and fucked his life up.
The realization of the terrible situation he'd put himself in seemed to hit Diego Sanchez pretty quickly, leading to this very emotional interview where Diego seemed devastated by the fact that Dana hadn't stood by him.
Well, I'm still open to meet with you, Dana. Be a man. Be a real boss. When I've bled, I've sweat, I've cried.
See, he's trying to be emotional.
Gummy's killing it tonight. That's like if Bonnie Blue said, I'm finally single and ready to mingle.
Oh my God.
Ass. Killing it, Gummy. Thank you.
Cried for this company.
So basically what he's saying is, I've done so much for your company, and I, just for the sake of time, I cut it out, but literally starts saying, I'm scared that I'm going to die, and it's going to be because the UFC sent assassins out for me. So if I'm in a car wreck or if I overdose, look into it because the UFC did it. I mean, he's literally making the claims, not veiled at all. He is making the direct claims that the UFC is going to send assassins to kill him. Why? I don't know. But he just... Again, it's obviously all these little seeds that were planted in his brain.
But then in the same interview, Diego showed exactly why the UFC had...
Oh, yeah. Fuck. I keep forgetting what I kept in and didn't.
No choice but to cut him, when he claimed the UFC might try to kill him to silence him.
I'm going to tell you guys both frankly right now, I'm fearful, man. I'm fearful for my life. I'm fearful that this company, this billion-dollar monopoly...
I think this sums it up. Wow! check out that profile pic.
Nice. Big Daddy Dodo with the quick one. Look at that.
Wow! Exactly, Big Daddy Dodo. Fuck this guy. I mean, I do love Diego, but God, man, if someone doesn't care enough about themselves, why should I care?
Well, that's just it. If you see somebody looking for validation outside of their own self, you know that they're dealing with some, like the chat's been saying, some trauma or abandonment or something. It's like your self-worth has to come from within, and none of it came for Diego. He was looking for validation from his wife. He was looking for validation from his coaches, and they weren't telling. They're like, "No, dude, you got to cut calories." I know. And then Fabia comes along. He's like, "You know what? All these guys that are naysaying you are putting negative emotion into your head. I will be the positive influence you need me to be," and it did not work out.
And I'm all you need. And that's the weirdest part. Now, suck my cock.
Maybe I wrecked my truck. Maybe something happened. Maybe Diego overdosed on some suicide. I don't know, but I would not put anything past the level of evil that is within this corporation.
With the UFC now out of the picture, Diego became even more dependent on Joshua Fabia and was heading off the deep end into ridiculous conspiracy theories, such as thinking the UFC was paying social media companies and running...
Okay, we're almost done. We're going longer than I expected, and I apologize. But this story is just so fucking fascinating. It's so crazy. But there's a few things I cut out just for the sake of time. But yeah, we are getting it, and I just feel like I wanted to warn everybody that yes, we're coming towards the end. I promise.
Bot accounts just to slander Diego and Fabia.
Little sheep, you're following the narrative. You're believing what these fake little robot fake accounts are putting up. Oh, you go look at and you will see these fake accounts while they're starting to change now. They're starting to take them off. But thank God that I got a smart coach. We've been documenting this.
He sounds like he's about 6 days off his meds.
6 days off his meds. He also sounds maybe not totally lucid. Like maybe he's been doing some meth or something. I mean, because he seems overly paranoid. I mean, it seems like a combination of things, you know, probably hasn't even eaten, you know, yes, you're right. There's a level of psychosis that has sunk in that didn't seem like it was there very shortly before that, you know?
Right. It's that nature versus nurture. This was a mental disorder that was probably nurtured. And had he been around the right people, it would not have manifested this way.
You know what? CORNdiff's got me thinking now.
Uh-oh.
And this wouldn't be that unbelievable. So CORNdiff says he's off his meds. Okay, we don't know that that's true, but what if it was? And what if, because this just sounds believable, Fabia tells him, you don't need your meds, because if you do things the way I say, much like Scientology, you don't need any kind of mind-altering medication. Yeah. God, that really would make sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I never thought of that. CORNdiff is all the mushrooms that I need to expand
I know what
my
it looks
mind.
like when you go off your meds. So it was easy to spot.
Yeah, man. CORNdiff expands my brain with his psilocybin corn. Psychedelic corn.
Joshua Fabia's cult leader tendencies are on show again too. The cult of Scientology has a process called disconnection, in which it encourages Scientology followers to cut off any family or friends who criticize Scientology or try to get them to leave the church. This massively increases their dependency on Scientology, as they have burnt bridges with their loved ones. Fabia employed a similar playbook on Diego Sanchez,
as Diego later stated that he had to disown some family members to...
So now we are at the full crux of cult behavior.
Yep.
Your family needs to go. They aren't supporting you. I'm the only one that loves you. You gotta kick them out and keep me. Apparently, that was the line.
To stay loyal to Fabia. These are textbook behaviors employed by abusers and manipulators to prevent you from leaving them. Over the following days of early May, we continue to get a steady drip of developments in the Diego Sanchez story. The most unusual being a leaked training video where Fabia put Diego through bizarre exercises.
Now again, Fabia releasing video that he believes is going to work in his favor, and it does the exact opposite.
Never does.
Get a load of this.
It's like moving around a boxing ring with a blindfold on.
He is having him run around with a blindfold on while he slaps him with a belt.
Yes.
He's really into this Mr. Miyagi type shit.
Yep, I was just going to say, this is about as effective as catching a fly with chopsticks.
Now, we joked about it earlier. I didn't want to give anything away, but this is 100% something from a Shaw Brothers ninja movie from the 70s. I mean,
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but this also was in Bloodsport. Wasn't Jean-Claude at the table blindfolded,
Yes.
and then Duke
I
goes
forgot
in
about
and-
that. Where he had to
like,
catch his
catches
hand.
Yeah,
I forgot about. You are correct. And
well, that's what I mean. I was very much on Diego's level at like 14, 15 years old. I was going to go Super Saiyan by the time I was 20, and I would be able to fucking Kamehameha the entire Earth at some point in my life. But, you know, at a certain point, reality checks in. It's like, no, that isn't how the world works.
Are you saying you would have gone pro ninja?
Yes, absolutely, dude. At one point, as a child, I know I took like thread and they're not in here. I had some of those curtain hooks. If you remember, curtain hooks had that spike and then a hook on it, and I would tape them together and make like a little fake grappling hook. And then But then you wind up at like a flea market or a flea bazaar, and there's a guy with all the Confederate flags and everything else, and then
who's
ninja
willing to
stars
sell
and
you
swords and all
anything
that.
you want.
I
Yes.
love it.
Yes, and I'm 15, 16. I'm like, give me those, and I got shurikens and throwing knives and all. Hell, you can't get good with them. They're all garbage.
No.
It takes so much practice, and it's not practical.
Sir, how's your stock on smoke bombs?
I know.
Yeah. Nope. I was training to be a ninja. I was running across telephone poles, telephone wires.
Yeah, when you would. Yes, I know exactly what you mean too. You would see like all the pillars.
I was throwing ninja stars to hit guns out of people's hands. I was ready to go pro. Yeah.
Yep.
I had a blow dart gun.
I made one of those out of PVC. I found a place that sold blow darts, but not the tube. So you go to like Home Depot and you get like a 2.5 foot, 1/4 inch PVC pipe. Perfect. Potato guns.
Hamhead is in fact a confirmed Kumite champion, and Hamhead. If I'm allowed to show that picture, please let me know. Or if you want to resend it to me, I'll put it up. But I'm not joking. Hamhead has a trophy that says Kumite champion.
Wait, yeah, no, he mentioned that before when we were watching. Okay.
Did we show? I don't know if we showed the picture.
I didn't see it.
If I'm allowed to show the picture, Hamhead, please let me know. But I will need you to resend it to me. But it's pretty great. It's pretty funny. Can you resend it to me, please? And I'll post it. All right. But yes, and again, something about this just looks very gay. I can't put my finger in it, but something.
Right after you get touched, you got pound them.
It's the whipping with the belt.
Yeah, and shirtless and blindfold.
Hit me with the stick. And perhaps even more disturbing than that was the video of Diego being held upside down and him being kicked and punched and slapped.
And so this is where it gets weird, where the theory tends to start leaning to he was trying to show off his skills for maybe his own UFC contract or something, because we just don't know. It's just so fucking weird.
I don't know where this style had came.
And why does he need to have his shirt off?
From, but he had done a little bit of bone conditioning.
You don't get to see the goods, man.
Before with sticks.
Bone conditioning is what we called.
But he had never taken it to really like the punching and the kicking. I think at that moment he was egotistical that he was getting his little moment on the camera.
So what in the hell is going on here? Because one of the things that is absolutely a problem with any contact sport.
What'd you say?
He was just slapping him in the face.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it was careless. Like it didn't seem like there was really any real value to it. It's just.
It's like he didn't even try to come up with a regimen that might have been believable if someone else saw it.
Right.
But what's so funny is you're right, but we don't know that he wasn't genuine. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's true.
Like he might have just been so delusional and stupid that he thought this was groundbreaking or pioneering. The same way that like John has very low standards when he does anything. and tells you about how hard he worked, the DC trip, or his podcast show. He'll be like, I work really hard on doing this, blah 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 blah, and we're all like, no, you woke up and decided to do it 10 minutes ago. Fuck you.
Yep, yeah. There's no doubt that John doesn't come across that way. That he just decided to flip on the camera today.
Yeah, exactly.
Try to get super chats.
And I think I said this when you were here, Sperg, with Dylan, when we talked about Ashita Kim, is that everything about John can be summed up in one phrase. John wants maximum reward for minimal effort.
Yep.
And I feel like, to some extent, that was Fabia's plan. Minimal effort, and I'm gonna be famous. Yep. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I unfortunately, I don't think this is the first case of somebody kind of attaching themselves to what they think is a rising star.
No.
We see it a lot more in
Oh,
Hollywood.
no.
We see it in the music business. My analogy would be like Courtney Love just like kind of attached herself to Kurt Cobain and like was, I mean, Hole was kind of a band, but not until afterwards was it that big. And there are people who are like that, you know, like, oh, this guy's going somewhere. Let me be in the passenger seat.
I totally agree with you. And you see this, of course, with pro athletes, more than anything, pro athletes, I guess. But you haven't seen it to the level of this where it was, you know, spiritually guided or had a religious foundation to it. That's the weirdest part about this story. But again, Diego was just too positive. He was just a trusting guy, and it was just so fucking odd, just so weird. Let me see if I can do this the right way. All right. Shit. How can I share?
Well, hold on while you're having a vamp. Screw you, king of all diffs. You know who I am.
What
and
happened?
Hamhead politely answers too. Oh, that fag over there, that's Sperg Snake.
I'm gonna figure out how to show this picture because I don't want to lose my spot with the video.
Yeah,
we'll
you still
figure
had
it
to
out.
specify it's not Corn or Luigi, not that. Well, the other one.
Good catch, thank you. I feel less gay now.
Is head trauma. And here is this jackass standing there with someone hanging upside down and hitting them in the head. That was the moment I said, man, whoever this guy is, he's a douchebag and he needs to be stopped.
How is this teaching Diego to avoid taking damage? It's just hitting him in the head. What is the super secret technique he's learning here? I have the answer to that. Fabia mentioned it in the Mike Swick interview.
So I'm seeing guys get knocked out like nothing, yet I never see any of them training getting hit. So Diego, I hit Diego 20 minutes a day. 20 minutes a day I hit him. So his body understands impact.
So we have a fighter who has already sustained a tremendous amount of damage, who absorbed nearly 900 significant strikes to the head in his UFC career, and we're spending 20 minutes a day hitting him so he gets used to being hit. If Diego Sanchez isn't used to being hit, I don't know who the fuck could be. We're not quite done with the disturbing revelations though. Let's talk about Diego Sanchez's OnlyFans account. From its inception, Diego's OnlyFans account was a source of controversy. This was at least in part due to the widespread speculation that there was a sexual component to Diego and Fabia's relationship. It was just another in the long list of examples you could point to when making the case that Fabia was dragging Diego's legacy through the mud. The same could be said of Fabia making accusations against Dana White and Sean Shelby of sleeping with female fighters.
Why is nobody talking about that the reckoning happened and somehow Dana White gets to fuck fighters? How many female fighters has he had sex with?
So what's interesting there is before that, I tried Googling it and looking it up. There was never any accusation of anyone fucking fighters. And it was just something he just threw up. How many fighters is Dana White sleeping with? And it's like, you're asking a question. You give us the answer because no one has claimed that he has. Dana White has never had any public accusation against him. So it's interesting. And I felt like this was also very lolcow and very John, is to ask a question as an accusation. You know, how many people has Dana White fucked? Well, you're the one asking the question. I don't know. You tell us, idiot.
Right. How many female fighters?
If you make the accusation, you got to follow it up with the proof.
Exactly. Don't ask us. This is your show.
Sean Shelby had sex with. Yeah. Yeah. This is the truth, man.
Dana and
this is the truth. We have yet to make a statement. We're asking questions. Hey, what's the weather outside? This is the truth. I mean, like, there's no logic. There's no just rational basis to anything he's saying, just from a reasonable standpoint. You're asking a question and saying it's the truth. Hey, without giving an answer, yeah, how many miles is it to the moon? Well, you haven't answered yet, but it's the truth. I mean, like it's so stupid. But this is one of my absolute favorite moments of this story. Listen to this.
Ended up firing back at Fabia through Instagram DMs, where Josh accused Dana of sending assassins after him. Dana confirmed that he had sent D after them. D's nuts. As funny as that is.
I got him. Fucking got him.
Supposedly, this is a real conversation that he had with Josh and Fabia. He says, "Yeah, I sent D. D who? D's nuts, you goofball."
I hope that's real. I hope he had to read that and be like, "Fuck."
There was a serious issue here. Fabia was digging a hole, not only for himself, but for Diego. This was at a time when Diego was literally weeping over the fact that...
All right, so just real quick, I'm going to just derail us for just a second to show Hamhead's Kumite trophies that he sent me.
Hey, oh, what? Hello. Look at all my stuff. Oh,
all right.
Hello, Luigi.
There it is. So there is his trophy, and now here is the close-up of the trophy. And it says, Mighty Might's white belt, Kumite, 3rd place.
I think the close-up is hidden behind.
You got to take the one down. Yep.
What?
The close-up is obscured by the first image that is in portrait mode.
Ah, shit. All right, hold on. It doesn't look that way on my end. Hold on. There you go.
Okay. There you go.
So there. Hamhead, Kumite champion.
That's 100% legit.
Yes. Kumite.
Can he still fit in his gi from 1990 is the question.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say yes.
Dana White wouldn't have a conversation with him. Now Fabia was trying to drive a wedge further between them. Thankfully, a change was in the air.
That guy's such a goofball. If you take anything that guy says serious, you should be beat with a stick, okay? I think the kid is mentally ill.
Still under Fabia's spell, Diego sees the UFC as the perpetrator, and he and Fabia as the victims.
Mr. Self-awareness, and all he does is comes out and starts, talking shit about people.
When Joshua Fabia learns UFC president Dana White plans to file a defamation case against him, the situation takes an even darker turn.
So now, after all of this shit, he's been saying you've been sleeping. Joshua's just been running his mouth. And again, I'm telling you, there's the overlap of the Dabbleverse locales is just so amazing. What is the one thing that John is most fucking scared of? And he thinks everyone else is scared of it. Lawsuits.
Yep.
And so Joshua's been running his mouth, saying that the UFC has hired assassins, that the executives have been sleeping with the female fighters, saying all that, running his mouth with no filter whatsoever. And Dana says, "All right, man,
fucking goofball.
You want to bring this up? You want to bring this? You really want to go to war? Well, I've got a vast amount of resources, and I'm going to sue you for defamation." And finally, reality sets in where he's like, oh shit, I might have fucked up. And now we see him unhinged.
Uh-oh.
That really scared him, and that's when he really started losing his mind a little bit. Like, it started getting even crazier,
Now, just imagine, in our little world, someone with unlimited resources tells John, I'm going to sue you because I think that something you said defamed me. And imagine how crazy. We've been in this situation before with, comical threats and fake threats that were just meant to be jokes. And he panicked, and he immediately starts going on the defensive and saying, no, I never said that. YouTube terms of service and blah, 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 blah. And we've seen when people jokingly threaten him. Now imagine a real threat from someone who has more money than God and says, you started this. I'm here to destroy you.
Right.
Yes.
Like, he started staying
Oh, real quick, I was going to say, in that moment, Dana looked a lot like one of my gym teachers. I kind of felt like I was getting yelled at for a moment. It's like, this guy's a goofball.
Totally.
I'm like, I ran my laps, dude.
Totally. And this guy, again, if you want to spend $10 million on a lawsuit, that's pocket change for Dana White. And one thing he's going to do is protect his business. And if you are threatening his business, he will protect it. And you should be scared if he threatened you with a lawsuit. But again, you brought this on yourself, dickhead.
On all crazy all night. I mean, for hours. I mean, messaging every single person, like on my Instagram, like.
And finally,
now imagine going through Diego Sanchez's hundreds of thousands of followers one by one by one to say to respond to something that somebody says. This guy is losing his mind.
All becomes too much for Diego to handle as he and his family start to fear what Fabia will do next.
This guy was very, very vengeful. I always had a feeling, you know, this guy's planning something against me. Like, no matter what, he's still always going to blame me.
And I was very, very concerned. We really couldn't do a whole lot about it because we were concerned about his safety. Well, mine too, and my baby girl. She was there, so we had to proceed with caution.
Caution turns to terror when Joshua Fabia and his assistant pay a visit to Diego's mother.
Josh got a lot of hate. So he wanted to film me on Mother's Day. We talked about the UFC, and he asked a lot of questions. But when it came to that question of what do you think of his trainer now? And I said, well, I don't really know.
Now, Joshua Fabia's ego just must be so incredibly sensitive and weak that he now says that all of the pressure of social media criticism is getting to him, and he wants a testimonial from Diego's mom to say that he is a good influence on Diego's life, and she refuses to say it.
I don't know him that well. They were pushing for me to say good things, and I wouldn't. And I didn't because I wasn't going to do it. And that's when he got upset, and he threw a tantrum. And his woman was yelling at me, too. They were both yelling at me at the same time. They were very angry. And then that's when he said, okay, I give up. And he walked out.
It was just a setup to make Fabia look good.
For Diego, Fabia threatening his mother makes him finally realize he is going to have to fight the most dangerous opponent he has ever faced.
For me, it was like, had got to such a peak that it was so deep that either this guy was going to kill me or I was going to have to kill him.
With his family potentially in mortal danger, Diego realizes he needs to try and unshackle himself from Joshua Fabia, the man he let become his master.
And I did want to kill him, but I knew if I went to those measures that I was going to miss the second half of my childhood.
So he tells him, we can't be boyfriends and boyfriends no more. It's over. You gotta move out. And here's how it all goes wrong. Or weird, I should say. The split.
Yeah, this is the part that I kind of don't remember the most about. Like, as we were going through, it was recalling in my brain, but I do not remember how this ends, and I'm very interested now.
Bad. Bad. That's how.
Uh-oh.
Instead, Diego agrees to buy his way out of bondage.
He has to buy his way out of his, I don't even want to call it an agreement. Who knows what it was? Might not have even been a contract. But basically, he gets blackmailed to give money to Fabia for Fabia to get out of his life. Now, here's a crazy thing. While all this is happening, Fabia starts doing interviews wherever he can. Not a lot, because a lot of people don't want to talk to him. But he does a couple of interviews where he just simply starts telling all the secrets he knows about Diego Sanchez. He starts saying that Diego was doing steroids. Diego was sexually abused as a kid and has mental issues. Diego was in special ed. He might be retarded. Like saying all of this horrible shit. And if you know anything about gyms, it is like talking to a priest or a lawyer. What happens there, you do not share it. It is confidential. It is sacred. There is shit that happens there. Your coach will always be an integral part of your life because they will know what's going on personally with you. They'll know what's going on mentally, physically with you. Your coach knows shit. You know, if you're a professional athlete, I'm saying, well, your coach will know shit about your life that they will, if they are ethical, they will take to their grave and never speak about it. And this motherfucker just starts blabbing and saying everything that he was told, like a priest or a lawyer being told something in secret, just saying, hey, I can't wait for who's going to give me a platform to tell it. Just starts saying all of this shit, that he's addicted, he's an alcoholic. I mean, the worst shit. And man, if he had haters before that, when he did that, again, his mouth got him into trouble. People turn on him again. Like, nobody likes him. And I think he only does one interview where he says it because literally no one cared what he had to say. And then this happens.
You want your freedom. You can have it. You're going to write a check to me and School of Self for $100,000. That's what I told you. This is the case when this happens because you've robbed me of everything.
Amen. And it's all Diego's fault.
Yeah, see, no, this is not. I feel so bad for this guy, but he just let it happen. It was too late before he wised up to his own situation. It took his mom to be like, hey, honey, listen, you got some bad shit going on.
It is so fucking awful. And this guy is such a piece of shit. But there's more like him. He's not unique. That's the crazy thing. And that's what we're here to talk about.
Made me sign the check right there in that moment on camera to have proof that it wasn't a forced thing. At that moment, it was the easiest thing to do because I would have done anything to get out of that situation.
You told me all of this money is mine as I did all the work.
What'd you say?
I said Diego's sounding a little effeminate himself now.
Aside from all the gay, aside from all the other gay evidence.
I'm just saying. You're now on your own. If your mother doesn't realize we were your family.
Okay, now that's the part, that is the thing that threw up a red flag for me, that I was like, what does that mean? He says that what ticked him off, Joshua we're talking about here, was that Diego's mother didn't recognize them as family.
Okay. Yeah, there's... Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
it's a little weird.
Guy was really trying to like supplant his family.
That's Gummi Chainsaw. There you go. That sums it up right there. Oof. That's it. That's all you can say. That's weird.
You didn't tell her that? You dude.
He just says, fuck you, that you didn't tell her about us. Mm-hmm. What does that mean? We don't know.
Yep. Especially with a pro athlete. Yeah.
What was that, CORNdiff?
Sounds like a boyfriend that's upset.
Does it?
Someone didn't tell him about their boyfriend.
Does it sound like a boyfriend? We just don't know. But the signs are all there.
Well, especially this time frame. I mean, it's not that long ago, but I don't really think there is any out pro athletes, especially right at this time for sure. And I think there's only maybe one or two now, and they're getting shit. So I can see that he would want to keep that as quiet as possible.
I get it. Yeah. I guess you're right. There's always been rumors about one guy in the UFC, George St. Pierre, but and it's funny because George St. Pierre is still considered to possibly have been the greatest athlete that's ever been in the UFC and the most respected champion. And honestly, the rumors were that he was gay while it was going on. And I honestly kind of always thought to himself, who gives a shit? He's fucking amazing. Like, who gives a shit what he was sleeping with or whatever? And it's like, I can't imagine what's going on in their head, of course. But I always kind of hoped he would come out of the closet, because I was like, man, that would be such a leap for, for stereotypes about gay people. Here's this guy coming out on the scene, fucking murdering people and being the best possible athlete. This phenomenal human machinery. Who gives a shit if he's gay? But he never did. And, Diego might have possibly have been that pioneer.
It wasn't just Fabia being crazy. It's the fact that I was in true danger, and people were able to see that I was.
I paid him out. So
now, when he says I was in danger, I thought to myself, I need a little bit more explanation on that. I wasn't totally clear on what he meant by that, and then I found this video. And folks, we have like 3 minutes left on this package. We're almost done. And I wanted to make sure that we play this. This is what he meant when he said he was in danger. Now, remember that guy I said earlier, Jesse on Fire, who had started his channel all based on this?
Right.
Jesse got an interview with Diego after the breakup. And Jesse was very honest, so super honest with Diego after some of the claims that Diego made, where Jesse would be like, Diego, he was lying to you. He's a piece of shit. Nothing he said to you was truth. And Diego still was like, man, I don't know. But this is one of the claims he made. And I'm going to turn the volume up on this. So listen to this.
So that it would be done. You know what I mean? Like, fucking, I paid you. Get out of my life. I'm Diego. You're whoever the fuck you are. I don't know who the fuck you really are or what you are. But get the fuck out of my life. It's Diego Sanchez's life. And I'm doing it my way.
Yeah. Okay, but so in the Instagram post that you put up, you alluded to that it was blackmail. Is that really how that happened?
In a way, yeah. In a way, it was blackmail. But because this guy was such a master manipulator that he had me so manipulated that to where I truly believe that this guy
And I
was
put
like
my dick in his mouth.
No manipulate. I didn't want to, but I just kept doing it. listen to this.
Profit.
So if you're involved in one of these, see that I was.
I paid him out so that it would be done. You know what I mean? Like, fucking, I paid you. Get out of my life. I'm Diego. You're whoever the fuck you are. I don't know who the fuck you really are or what you are, but get the fuck out of my life. It's Diego Sanchez's life, and I'm doing it my way.
Yeah. Okay, but so in the Instagram post that you put up, you alluded to that it was blackmail. Is that really how that happened?
In a way, yeah. In a way, it was blackmail. But because this guy was such a master manipulator that he had me so manipulated that to where I truly believe that this guy was like a end of times prophet.
He had convinced Diego that he was a reincarnation of Jesus, and also that he was a CIA assassin. And at some point, Jesse just tells him, and I just cut it out just for time. Jesse goes, Diego, he was lying to you. And Diego goes, I don't know, man. I don't know.
See, that's the thing. It was we were talking about they were on mushrooms and stuff, and I guarantee you that was when that dude he was really trying to influence him while Sanchez is under the influence of mushrooms. Like, don't you feel so open and connected to the earth? And then when he gets him into that state, he can be like, so through the mushrooms, I found out my personal life. Right. But, like he can say that and start talking word salad like Deepak Chopra and just sounds like he's a prophet. And when you're under the influence of a substance, shit makes sense.
Yeah.
You're not rationally thinking, wow, that just sounds right. Holy shit. This guy's amazing. And so, next thing you know, he's suspended upside down with his pants off and now he's being blackmailed for $100,000. It's crazy. It
is time.
Yep, exactly.
It is amazing. And that's why I wanted to do the story, man. This story is so unbelievable. And this guy, Jesse, I mean, flat out is trying to talk sense into him. And he's like, look, you're broken away from him. You're not subservient to him anymore. You don't have to play this game anymore. This motherfucker was lying to you. He conned you. It's over, but you fell for it. He lied. And still Diego was like, you just don't know. You just don't know. Yeah. And it's like, he was still in his mind. All right. 2 minutes left.
So if you're involved in one of these situations, all I can tell you is before you get too deep, get out while you can. And do not let...
Or before they get too deep in you.
This person take control of your life. Your life is your life. And you are not a slave.
Unless you do it consensually.
After paying off Fabia, Diego reconciles with the UFC.
The only thing that Diego Sanchez is guilty of is being a really nice guy. Diego's a little out there, okay?
Yeah.
He's not on the same, wavelength as most of us. But make no mistakes, Diego Sanchez is one of the nicest people you will ever meet. He's a good person.
Me and Dana, we go way back. We go back to when UFC was 70 million in debt. I'm not crying a fit that I lost my UFC career. I had a great UFC career, even the times that they were stitching me up in the back. I lived the fullest of life in the UFC. I just told him, I'm just so grateful that you gave me the opportunity to have this career. I'm forever grateful for all the moments I had in the UFC.
I think...
Now, there's one positive that comes out of this story. And I have to say, I feel satisfied with what we're about to hear from Diego.
People should know and not judge Diego because they don't know what he went through.
Very painful.
Very painful.
I think Diego Sanchez should be remembered in an inspirational way. This was a guy that lived and breathed it and went as far as he could, as hard as he could. And that you have to respect that.
I am just going to follow God, and what doors open that are going to open, I'm going to be ready to step through those doors. For me, I want to be the coach that's like, that stuff isn't even a worry. That's never going to happen to my fighter because I'm going to be so far ahead of it.
And whether or not that's true, I hope it is, that he is saying that he is now able to identify the leeches and the con men and the grifters, and that as a coach now coaching other fighters, that he is going to prevent that. And I hope that's true, because I feel like maybe that is some positive element to this story to come out of this awfulness. Now, to close this, I want to actually just play one short clip from Jesse on Fire, where he summed up his interview with Diego Sanchez.
Okay, so Diego, whenever you see this interview, I'm going to tell you with absolute certainty, he was lying. He's a charlatan and a goddamn liar. You're much better off not being around him. Fuck that guy.
There you have it, folks. That is the story of Joshua Fabia and Diego Sanchez. And who could sum it up better than that?
Yeah, no kidding. Fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy. I mean, what a piece of shit. I don't
think he was a good trainer.
I've hired him.
Astute observation.
If there was any chance to get Diego Sanchez on Skeptical Robot, I would treat him with respect, but I would want to hear his side of the story of the details. And, if there was any chance to ever interview him, I'd just be like, look, man, let's just say for a second that there's someone out there in the same situation and you're trying to talk them out of it. And I'll bet he probably has a different perspective of it. At least I hope he does. Anyway, thank you everyone for being here. Oh, Big Daddy Dodo. Thank you for the $4.99. Hold on.
Thank you for the super chat.
Oh my God!
I love it so much. Thank you so much, Big Daddy Dodo, for the $4.99. Thank you to everyone out there. Thank you for the gifted memberships. Thank you for the super chats. Just thank you for watching. Every little watch counts. You're supporting, you're encouraging our nonsense. I'm so happy that someone likes this silly, silly show. And we're here. We are an educational show, and we are trying to let people know that there are Fabias in the world. There are Fabias trying to steal your money. There are Fabias trying to rob you, lie to you, and convince you of stupid things. From now on, maybe Fabia needs to also have a place as a character like Anne Frank Dukes, but he's going to be like our Hamburglar, where he's just always doing a bad thing. Yes. Thank you so much, everyone. Now, before we go, Sperg Snake, what would you like to plug, sir?
Well, in about a half an hour, I will be live on my channel and simulcasting with Annie O'Ryan. We'll be playing Fortnite for a few hours tonight.
Nice.
Star Wars. So,
Very
yeah,
nice.
hopefully we get to fly the Death Star. Or not the Death Star. We're a Star Destroyer.
I have
top-down shoot people. It's great.
Oh, that's cool. I have actually been talking to Annie. We would like to have Annie on as a guest sometime soon. Hopefully she will come on here. And as far as or anything else, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Any other plugs?
Just Monday nights between 10 to midnight. Family Feud, Wheel of Fortune, game show games. You know, I word game stuff, so you can shut your brain off and watch me be a dummy. And help me spell because I'm terrible at spelling.
I am liking your snack shows. I am liking those snack shows.
I've been giving myself diabetes every Thursday, Friday now. So that's hopefully I'm going to work that in. Echo Pineapple sent me some stuff, and I'm done promoting. But one more thing, Mr. Corn, I felt I had such a heartfelt feeling for you on the Johnny Number 5 Lego stream. Because when you turn that second fucking bag over, dude, I knew what it was. I was like, oh, it's a PDF file.
It's just something
a real
different
PDF file.
Yeah,
yes,
Adobe.
Literal
Adobe, yes, an Adobe file. Yeah, and it was CORNdiff's birthday stream. I think a lot of people feel bad about that.
Johnny 5, but he, a little asshole, didn't have instructions, and I was just like, I'm gonna go outside and play with the drone.
Yep. Yeah, I knew as soon as I knew what had happened, I was like, I don't blame you. And May birthday gang. My birthday was this month. Your birthday was this month.
Woo woo.
I think
nice.
King of all diffs said his birthday was this month. My mom's birthday was this month.
I'm in good company.
CORNdiff, you know, I meant to send you a picture, and I think I totally forgot. My wife recently went to have a meeting in a office building, and in the lobby of the office building, they had a professionally done Lego model of the building itself that she was in. Jesus. And it was in a case, like the whole building and the street next to it. Like it was really fascinating. I was really impressed by it.
Holy crap.
Anyway.
That's awesome.
Okay, so for me, please check out Unboxing Eric this Sunday on Hack Ride Studios channel, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. And also check out Unboxing Riley Martin. Unboxing Bigfoot it is on Thursdays. We switch in and out on those. And Unboxing Howard Stern Story Time on Hack Ride Studios channel on Wednesdays. It's every other Wednesday. Thank you again. Thank you so much. Please also support Gummi Chainsaw. He has been killing it. He does all of our animations here. He's amazing. He's just amazing. Everything he does is just killer. Thank you so much. And now, the way we end things is our CEO, who is still in the office, CORNdiff, please plug and give us our motivational quote.
YouTube at CORNdiff. None of that matters. Here's what matters. He who stands in the middle of the road gets hit by both ice cream trucks. Have a good weekend.
Good night, everybody.
「 Yeah, you say your house is haunted and you gotta beware. But quite frankly, I can't take it anymore. I don't give a damn if there's some creaking in your floor. It's not a ghost. You're just a dumbass. No spirit would care about your boring, lazy ass. Nobody's moving pictures or opening your cupboards. You just got a goldfish memory, my brother. So don't call me with this bullshit. Oh, I'm so tired of dealing with it. It ain't a ghost. Me again. No, I won't come over. It's fucking 3 a.m. I don't care if shit is sliding across your floor, cause you'd probably piss yourself the second I knocked on your door. It's not a ghost. You're just a dumbass. No spirit wants to watch you jerk it and pass gas. Nobody's blowing shit around or rattling your doors. You just drink enough for 7 men or more. So don't call me with this bullshit. Oh, I'm so tired of dealing with it. It ain't a ghost. Oh!
Please also check out this awesome NES cartridge that Gummi Chainsaw made. It's the best. It's the coolest. Let us know if this is anything that you guys might like. Have a great night.